got a little time off, got a little chance to spend time with the family, got to eat some good food, watch some good football. And now we roll back into college football right here on WJOX. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Cole Cubic, Craig McElroy. John Sabier, Damian Mitchell working behind the scenes. G-Mac, how was the Thanksgiving for you?
We had a great Thanksgiving, pal. How was yours?
It was awesome. It was good. It was fun. More football this Thanksgiving than in years past. I think.
Really?
Well, number one, I think the temperature had a little bit to do with it. My mother-in-law, this is super cool, like, because she has, I think, 6 kids under 10 in the house for big holidays. So she's been doing like the big inflatable slide the last couple of years. They'll just rent it for the weekend.
Oh, that's smart.
And the guy lets them, you rent it for 2 days, but you get it for like 5 days.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to come get it,
Nope.
bring it Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And so they get it extra days with it. And I mean, the kids just go bananas. It was a little wet in the mornings. It was cold the entire time. My 7-year-old's out there, shorts, no shoes, going, for hours, didn't care. And my wife was all worried, and I said, listen, I was the same way when I was a kid. I wouldn't put pants on. He had shorts on, but, this is the way it was. And so I think had to come in and thaw out a little bit every now and then. And 7-year-old and 4-year-old are just a little bit more into it. So that was cool because usually it's like I had to fight to go watch any football during Thanksgiving. They all want to go do random stuff, but got to watch a little more ball, got some good food, doubled down on strawberry pretzel salad, and it was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that the kids are into it. We had football on pretty much the whole day, but it was a little less. I'm just not into it. I'm sorry. I just can't. The NFL is a tough product for me right now. Like I know we say that all the time, but like I am just thoroughly enjoying the college football product that we've had. And the NFL has just been a bit of a tough watch. Just a lot of mistakes. What I love most about the NFL is it's just clean football. Good, clean execution, good quality players that don't make mistakes. Just don't feel like I've gotten as much of that this year. So the NFL has been a slight turnoff. Did enjoy the comeback and the kind of chaos yesterday in the Lions Bears, but the other 2 games were pretty much duds. Jordan Love is awesome. But Packers Dolphins wasn't great. Cowboys Giants was pretty rough. So the best game yesterday to me was Memphis and Tulane. I thought it was thoroughly entertaining. A big upset there as Memphis takes down what I think is probably the most talented G5 team. And sure enough, I wish we had more college football. I found myself last night, like sitting up after the Memphis Tulane game thinking, man, I wish we had more college football today. We need to put some more games on Thanksgiving in college football.
I just still think that it's a big miss not having either the Egg Bowl or Texas A&M on Thursday night. I'll be interested to see what that Memphis Tulane number looked like. If it's even decent, I think we could hopefully get a shift back to that Thursday night. I just think it's a massive window. And of course, we all had the conversation sitting around Wednesday night after kids went to bed. Why is there not a football game on right now?
I did watch basketball.
We watched a little basketball.
Did find the basketball to be highly entertaining.
Because my son was pumped that he's like, oh, Steph Curry's playing tonight. He saw the commercial. And I was like, you will be in bed when that one tips off.
About that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, yeah, it's it was fun. It was good. And unfortunately, I think my 7-year-old is a little bit more into the NFL right now than college.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and say this. I hate to admit this. Fantasy football has a little bit to do with it. And the really bad part about that is he asked for updates every 3 plays. We get any points? And because it's the first game we've watched together, talking about it, having players that are involved in it. And I was just like, no, buddy, we've got the defense. Like Detroit's offense is on the field. We can't get points right now. He's just like, Dad, more points.
Can you not get sacks?
I was like, if you want Jake Bates to come back out there, we got him. It'd be great. And thankfully,
that's our best bet.
That last missed field goal hurt us. But either way. But yeah, it was. But just the fact that he sits there and he wants to watch it, he's asking questions, it's cool. And it made it more fun.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Thanksgiving was great. John, good Thanksgiving?
It was, yes. It felt a little weird having to wake up almost work time to start getting things prepared, but only had to make one stop this year. Usually you have to make 2 or 3, so it was nice to only have to make one. I think I have officially become an old man because I stayed away from the dessert. I had 2.5 plates, and when everyone went for the walk, I opted to stay back and nap.
I did take a nap yesterday. It was only because my 4-year-old got up at like 5:20.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I gotta new bed, it's just different settings. You don't sleep as well.
Yep.
And then he gets up early, trying to go back to sleep. He's like running laps around the upstairs. I gotta go. I crashed for.
You've done all you can.
I was up there for about an hour. I think I only slept for like 15 minutes, but it was nice to just lay down. For
Power nap counts.
Just give me a second. And they were all going down that slide, so they didn't care. How was how'd the food go for you, G-Mac? We had a big curveball in our house.
Curveball.
Big curveball. Member of the family who is an excellent baker decided to make homemade yeast rolls.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm used to the little. It's not Sister Schubert's. It's a different roll that we usually have, and it's an easy little slice and a nice little sandwich there. These were big and plump and thick, and they
Yeast
were
rolls
sourdough.
They are hard to cut.
It threw me off a little bit.
They are hard to
cut. I was just like, I don't know how the sandwich is going to go on this thing. It was fine, but just it was a curveball. And I loaded up plate one, went back for strawberry pretzel salad. That was the only thing I doubled down on. But I will say the sweet potato casserole this year was extra desserty, extra sweet,
really
extra sweet.
Wow,
thick crust. Oh man, it was good. I went to that. I went to that first and almost didn't want anything else. I was like, this could do it right here. This is it.
I gotcha. I can understand that. I will admit, I feel like yesterday the level of consumption, kind of alongside John, like not as much as usual. Not really consciously thinking about it, but just feel like usually used to be pretty much a full send on Thanksgiving. And I'm not sure we got that this year. I don't know if I got the best version of myself out there yesterday.
What was the best part of your Thanksgiving, Greg?
Well, obviously the family coming over is number one. That goes without saying. But if we're going specific food items, we tried out a new Thanksgiving feature.
Oh boy.
This Thanksgiving. And it was basically like, no, it was essentially like a very creamy version of Mexican street corn. And it was, when I say a 10 plus, I went back for, I'm not kidding, I probably went back for 4 different corn related sides. I mean, I probably went back. I didn't go back for ham. I didn't go back for turkey. I didn't go back for strawberry pretzel salad. I didn't go back for regular salad. Didn't go back for green beans, and did not go back for the potato. But whatever the corn was, I think I went back 4 times.
For this one thing you're saying, or different
ridiculous.
corn things.
No. The Mexican creamy street corn. It was the best. It was the best thing on the plate. The best thing in the buffet line. And it was probably one of the best sides I think I've ever had on Thanksgiving. It was that good.
Okay.
That good.
Right.
Wow.
My aunt used to make something that sounds similar to what you're talking about, and they called it who knows where some of these things get their names. They called it companies coming over or something like that. Maybe that's the smart aleck name my dad gave it or something that was really called something else, but it sounds very similar to what you're talking about. But in similar Thanksgiving fashion, there were so many other things that I wanted. I usually didn't go to that.
Sorry,
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was not going through it was a normal, probably if anything, maybe a slightly smaller portion on the first go around. Because if I'm with you, like, I'm not thinking corn on Thanksgiving. It's not really a high priority. Like, I'm gonna go with the things that I've had very little of in the last calendar year. So the potatoes, the turkey, the ham, all that other stuff. And man, I'm telling you, it was dynamite. And one other adjustment to our Thanksgiving meal yesterday. Sub out turkey.
Oh no,
Hang on. Sub in chicken. And it was honestly not because we were trying to be trendy. It was because literally every place that we tried to get a turkey was out of turkeys.
When did you start trying to get said
shortage?
Turkey? Like Wednesday
What's
night?
that?
When did you start trying to get said turkey? Like Wednesday?
Yeah, I think Wednesday.
Thursday morning.
No, I think Wednesday. I did not. I was not in charge of that. So
Eberflus.
And to be honest with you, I'm not in charge. I don't do the grocery shopping very often during the season in our house. So I think there was an order that was attempting to be made. And I don't believe that there was turkey. So we made the quick change to chicken. I'm going to be honest with you. Upgrade. Like, it was legit. It was really good. It was basically like a rotisserie chicken with like a bunch of different flavors and stuff. I mean, it was delicious. I didn't have a problem with it. It might be a permanent trade.
Come on.
It's the old, mistake that becomes something that, I'm good with this.
Fully expecting McElroy to step in here this day next year to be like, let me tell you guys, the Thanksgiving quesadillas. I'm telling you, you're missing out. We'll see.
Thanksgiving.
I'm not a
Crispitos are
huge
the
turkey
bomb.
guy to begin with, so it's not like subbing, one turkey for a chicken. I mean, seriously, it's not that different.
All right, Alyssa
If
Lang.
anything, it's slightly less dry. That's all it is.
All right.
Don't be mad. Don't hate the player. That's all I want to say.
I'm not mad, not even hating, but I feel like turkey's a pretty integral part of it.
Yeah, if you're soft.
Well, Americans are soft. We've kind of established that, so I guess that makes sense.
What part of chicken on Thanksgiving you feel like hardens you or gives you an edge, as opposed to the other 290
leg?
days a year you eat chicken?
Is it the skin or?
The thigh.
That's definitely it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. The knee.
Next year, McElroy. Guys, Thanksgiving spaghetti. Hear me out.
Well, you can talk me into that. Honestly, if they served pasta for Thanksgiving, I wouldn't have a problem with it because I don't eat pasta. So that would be a real change of pace if they decided to go that direction.
Well, good news is you'd have enough sides to load up on. It wouldn't really matter. You'd be okay
exactly.
there. I think you'd be fine.
Thanksgiving burger.
What if we
King,
just
hear
got
me
rid
out.
of turkey and ham and all that other stuff all together and just go sides? Just round and around
I
sides.
wouldn't be really mad at it. I mean,
No.
Restaurants
I
have the 4 vegetable plate.
I think I could do honestly, I could think I'd do my little Thanksgiving slider with no turkey and just put stuffing and gravy on there to be just as good. I mean, I'd be fine with that. Like I said,
Did anyone notice themselves going around and around eating one item at a time, or did you just slop it together like a giant pig?
One at a time.
What?
One at a time. All the sweet potato casserole first. Strawberry pretzel salad was last. Made my little Thanksgiving sliders next. Then knocked off the little extra stuffing and turkey I had on its own to the side. Yeah, all at one time. Yeah, it's the way
Love it.
it's the way normal people do it.
I agree. You won't find any pushback from me. I think it's crazy people that mix it all together. Stresses me out.
All right, we'll get to a lot of college football today. Max Ball Friday, Black Friday. Shopping today? Anyone?
I don't know. I read an article last night as I was the kids were in bed, and I was that 30% of Black Friday deals are not deals. So no, I'm actually not going to be doing any shopping.
But that means 70% are.
And Conspiracy Greg is back.
Don't
This
be
is what
mad at
happens
me.
when you don't have turkey. You get chicken in you, and all of a sudden,
I will say this. So I
I
mean,
just see the world through a different light.
you can't get rid of your spam emails. You can't.
No.
I have unsubscribed to 17,000 email chains, but places where I normally go, whether it's Fanatics or Nike.com or, New Era, things I'm buying for kids, whatever, I just Hibbit. I keep getting those forever and ever. Dick's, I think, keeps coming in. And I thought you were going to go with, most people are saying that the Black Friday deals this year, for whatever reason, are not going to be as good. Like the discounts are not going to be as steep. And so
no.
I heard family members talking about that. And I was like, all right, well, the one or two times I end up checking my phone later last night, I'm looking through my emails and it's like, Black Friday now is 20% off. Black Friday now, 25% off. I'm like, y'all gonna have to do a lot better than this for me to click that email. 20% on Black Friday is not getting it. I'm sorry.
No.
You're gonna have to add 40 to that for me to even pay attention to what you're doing. Like I want things almost free, or else I don't.
Yes.
It's not a thing for me. So I thought that was interesting that people yesterday were saying it's not going to be as good because the deals aren't going to be as strong. And then some of those emails coming in, 15% off Black Friday now, act now. I was like, no. I feel like that's every other day. I can get that with your spam emails that are coming in. We're good.
Give me this all the time, Coles. Like, why do I need this now?
No, I'm not hopping on that. So
I don't know. The one thing that I'm a little troubled by, and I've noticed this with Amazon, because I used to keep things like in my cart for forever. And then when it would drop in price, I would assess whether or not, hey, is this the time I want to buy? Maybe yes or no. Not things I need, but things I want, things I'm keeping my eye on. So I've done that for years. And I've noticed that yesterday, and they quote Black Friday sale, they're raising prices, the regular prices. So the thing that I wanted that was, say, $40 is now $50, and they're marking it 25% off. So it's like, hang on a second. So I could have bought this on a normal day for $40. Now I'm getting it for $36, and it's a, quote, huge Black Friday sale.
I just don't get it. But I guess we'll find out exactly how, because we're going to continue getting the emails today. You'll see different things today. Because the other thing is, after one of the games were over, one of the news things came on. I don't think it was local, it was national. And their big deal was, and I drove home from Decatur last night, so I kind of got a little peek at this, how many things are closed on Thanksgiving as opposed to other days. Because I did think it was a little depressing about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe less, when it's like all these things are open today. It's not supposed to, like, you're supposed to have like one grocery store open, maybe a pharmacy in case of an emergency. And like everything's closed yesterday, which I think is great. People need to be working on
Decatur, though, too, dude. I mean, Decatur's a small town.
But it was here. It was like Walmart wasn't open yesterday. Target wasn't open yesterday. Best Buy wasn't open yesterday. Like all the stuff. Yeah, Publix was closed yesterday. So it was very different than the last couple of years. And I thought that was great. I thought it was good. But just, things are a little bit different. So we got, like Greg mentioned, a nice win for Memphis last night. We'll get to that on the other side. I'll tell you the best thing about my Thanksgiving when we come back on the other side. And then we'll begin to get into Max Ball, things that we're going to talk about throughout the course of the day. It's rivalry weekend/day. You know what that means. We're going to break all those games down. But first, I'd like to tell you about my friends at Game Day Men's Health. If you lack energy, if you're getting poor sleep, feel on edge, those could all be the effects of low testosterone. A lot of guys are experiencing this, and you can feel better. You can be better. Game Day Men's Health can help you with that. Also, weight loss programs. Now that Thanksgiving's over, maybe you put on the extra pounds, you're ready to get started. Let Game Day Men's Health get you there, get to the weight that you want to be. They can do that for you. Very cool locker room environment, no stress, not going to try to push you into different programs that they have, but you can save 10% on every service that they offer by mentioning Cube when you walk in the front door. Here's what you do. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Sign up for the free consultation, free PSA test, free testosterone test right then, right there. You'll know your baseline health, and then they'll present to you what they're going to be able to do, how they're going to be able to help you, and there are a lot of different ways. It's a no-charge consultation with a free testosterone and PSA test. Why not take advantage of it? Just go see where you are today and see if they can help you. Minimal upfront cost for the programs they offer, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get your health where you want it to be. All right, when we come back, we begin Max Ball Rivalry Weekend Friday next, Mac and Cube in the morning. Black Friday, November 29th, 7:22 a.m. right here on Jocks 94.5. Memphis takes down Tulane last night. Strong performance by the Memphis Tigers. They're going to finish up the regular season 10-2. Tulane 9-3. Memphis goes 46 carries for 242 yards on the ground last night. Former South Carolina and I can't remember the place he played before South Carolina. Running back Mario Anderson, small school. 27 for 177 and a touchdown last night. Tulane rushes 18 times for 57 yards. They turned it over 3 times. Memphis did not turn the ball over, and that's a really good win for Ryan Silverfield and Memphis there to close out the season. Before we get to Roddy Jones, I want to tell you about our friends at Wayne's. If you were at your parents' house, your aunt's, uncle's house, grandparents' house, and they had complaints about rodents, whether that's chipmunks, squirrels, birds in the attic, raccoon, possum in the garage, tell them to call our friends at Wayne's. It's not just your yard. It's not just the termites. Wayne's now has wildlife prevention services and removal services, GMAC. So if you have any wildlife issues around your home, Wayne's can help.
Yeah, 866-WAYNES-1. That's 866-WAYNES-1. Wayne's is awesome. You will love the experience that you have with Wayne's. So call them today, 866-WAYNES-1, and let Wayne's continue to create your happy place. Go online, callwaynes.com. The wildlife, the lawn care, all this other stuff has been terrific. Great additions to our experience at home. I know it'll be the same for you as well. 866-WAYNES-1. Visit callwaynes.com and let Wayne's continue to create your happy place.
All right, Roddy Jones of ESPN joining us now on the Buyers Right Hotline. Couple games we want to get to with Roddy, of course. Clean old-fashioned hay can be one we spend some good time on. But, Roddy, I want to start with your game today, Oak State, Colorado. 11 a.m. on ESPN. I think a lot of people are just looking at Colorado kind of cruises through this game. We know what Oklahoma State was supposed to be going into this year, into this season, but how dangerous is this game for Coach Prime and his crew?
First off, boys, it's good to catch up with you. It's good to be on. Appreciate you having me. I would say Cole, it's pretty dangerous. Oklahoma State's lost 8 straight. They haven't won a game in like 2.5 months. And it's only the second time in Mike Gundy's tenure at Oklahoma State that they're going to miss a bowl game. The last time was 2005, if you can believe that. So it's a proud team. They've been playing hard, Oklahoma State has, and they started to offensively sort of round into form, into more like what they thought they were going to have this year. They're starting a true freshman at quarterback. I'm Maya Luwaki Smith. All right, I'm going to let Mark handle that today for the most part. But he's got some talent, and he's able to run the football really, really well. And I think that brought a dynamic to the offense that they had with Garrett Rangel a little bit, but he's a better runner, certainly than Rangel, which helps him offensively. The thing is, if Oklahoma State's going to compete in this game, I don't think they can get into a shootout like they did last week against Texas Tech. This is a defense that is worse than the Big 12, really for the second year in a row statistically, and they've lost 2 or 3 of their best players this year. I mean, Colin Oliver was expected to be a really good player for him. He hasn't played since the non-conference. Nick Martin got hurt in the first game in the Big 12, so they've kind of gone without 2 of their leaders. So it's dangerous, especially if Colorado sort of plays with their food. And lets Oklahoma State run the football. I mean, Kansas had the ball for 20 minutes more than Colorado last week. It's sort of the recipe to keep Colorado at bay. They only ran 42 plays in the game. So if they let Oklahoma State run the ball, then they're in big trouble. If not, then they should be okay because I think they'll be able to move the ball and score points.
What's been the deal with the defense? Like you referenced, I know they've had some injuries. I get that. They haven't really played well all year. The defense is... It's just they're undersized, and I think to play a 3-down defensive line is a big ask and just all these other problems. But it's more troubling to see a group along the offensive line that was basically returning across the board and a Doak Walker award-winning running back, and they can't run the ball. Like, what the heck is the deal with the run game, and why hasn't been able to go this year?
I think it's a myriad of things, Greg, and it's never as simple as one thing. I think some combination of over-evaluating how good that offensive line was a year ago, based on the excellence of Ollie Gordon, and some complacency. Like maybe that line had peaked and they didn't, and they weren't quite as dedicated in the off season. Like early in the season, you could just, I felt like they were just off from a unit standpoint. And to be honest with you, this is a team that had a lot of breaks go their way and probably won more games than the talent would have suggested a year ago, making it to the Big 12 championship game. And so, like, I think they thought they were better than they were. And then on the other side, Ollie Gordon felt it was pretty important for him from a longevity standpoint to bulk up. I think he overshot that number, or whatever the weight that he wanted to gain. I think it was too much. He does not look as fast. He does not look as quick. You know, we were doing some side by sides of him breaking runs last year, and just the way his stride looked, the way he hurdled people last year. He's still trying to do some of that this year, but those 5-foot hurdles are now like 3-foot hurdles, and that you know, I don't know what he would have run last year, but it certainly isn't as fast. So I think the combination of those two things hurt them. And then teams had a lot more success daring the quarterback to beat him, loading boxes. Alan Bowman last year was able to hit enough plays to make people pay. And I think they felt like his turnover issues would be cured this year, although with a 7th-year guy who's turning the ball over, 14 interceptions last year in his 6th year, I'm not sure how much better you thought that was going to get. It did not get any better. So I think all of those things sort of went into them not being able to run the football. And then, you know, talking to them, some of it's a confidence thing. Like, once you lose your confidence and what you thought you were going to be able to hang your hat on, it's tough to get it back.
Roddy Jones of ESPN joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. He'll be on the call for Oklahoma State at Colorado, 11 a.m. this morning on ABC and ESPN Plus. All right, let's go to clean old-fashioned hate. I think it's been really interesting, the demeanor, the vocabulary used between the two head coaches in this game in the last week and a half. Brent Key not afraid to tell you, hey, man, I hate that group. They make my blood boil. Don't want to be around them. Don't like them. Kirby kind of brushing that stuff off just a little bit. Do you feel like there's any sort of mental, emotional edge a little bit more on the Georgia Tech side this year than some of the last few?
I hope so, Cole. I hope so. Man, I hope so. I think the way the head coaches are operating is indicative of the rivalry, which is why Brent Key is the perfect guy for Georgia Tech. Like, that is how Tech people feel. They hate Georgia. Everything that he's saying is resonating with the Georgia Tech fan base. And the way Kirby Smart is operating is sort of how Georgia operates. They don't really care about Georgia Tech until they lose, and then they care deeply about Georgia Tech. And so I think it is very indicative or very representative of how the rivalry goes in general. And this is a Georgia Tech team that is playing with confidence. It's a Georgia Tech team that played Georgia as tough as anybody last year, except for the losses that Georgia suffered. And I think this is a Georgia Tech team that believes that that they're playing with house money, because, you know, obviously everyone knows the record, and if you don't, Georgia Tech has beat Georgia 3 times since the year 2000. They haven't beat them in Atlanta since in the late 90s. But in the years in this millennium, it's been 2008, 2014, 2016. So they're not expected to go and win. They're going to try and ruin Georgia's season. Now, the issues that Georgia Tech is going to have is I don't think they're going to have nearly the success with the 2 quarterback system as they did in the past 2 games. You know, I sort of felt like when they rolled it out a couple games ago, it sort of caught Miami off guard. Like, Miami couldn't quite figure out, number one, the shifts in motions that Georgia Tech did, which is a Miami problem. But 2, because of that, they could never completely eliminate Haynes King from the game. NC State basically did that by being able to stop the run when Haynes King was in the game, disrespecting the ability to throw the ball entirely, which Miami never really did, and making it an Aaron Philo game. I don't think Georgia Tech is going to be able to get away with playing both quarterbacks. I think personally you have to go with Philo. At least he gives you the option for both. And yeah, he's a freshman on the road at Georgia at night. Would you rather that or have a guy that can't throw the ball, you know, more than probably 10 or 15 yards? And I've heard reports that Haynes King's throwing the ball better, but he hadn't thrown the ball further than 10 yards in the air since he came back from that shoulder injury. So better could be 15 yards. I don't know. But yeah, I think there's some confidence there to answer your question.
It would be understandable as to why. My concern would really be more the pass defense. I mean, they've been good against the run this year, relatively speaking, and they were pretty disruptive against Miami, but it was really more about 3rd downs and 4th downs in that game, and they did a great job on 3rd and 4th down. As a result, they won. Can they? And I do think Georgia's starting to throw the ball a little better the last couple weeks. starting with the game against Tennessee. So is there reason to believe that this defense will be able to slow them down a little bit, even though they've had some challenges in the back end?
I think there's reason to believe that. No, I think Georgia Tech. I mean, I think Georgia is probably going to hit some plays. There's a lot of teams that have hit plays against Georgia Tech's secondary. Especially they've been banged up back there. Like Warren Burrell's been banged up here lately. The Tennessee transfer. They've had a couple other guys have been banged up. I don't think their safeties are awesome in coverage. Which in college, if you have safeties that are great in coverage, it makes you it helps make you elite. And there's not a lot of teams that do. And the other thing is Tyler Santucci gets pretty aggressive at times, especially on third downs. So I think if Georgia Tech can stop the run and force Georgia into those third down scenarios, they've been a phenomenal third down defense this year, second best in the ACC, one of the upper tier in the country. So I don't think there's any reason that will all of a sudden stop against Georgia. But yeah, I think the thing is, can you keep Georgia from scoring on the big plays that they hit? Can you play another down? And then on third downs, you have to continue to be as good as you've been. And in the red zone, you got to make them kick field goals. Because I don't see a scenario where if it's a game where Georgia gets in the 30s, I don't see a scenario where Georgia Tech's going to be able to keep pace with that. But if it's a game that's played in the 20s and certainly in the high teens, I think Georgia Tech can hang around. Obviously, there's not as much space between 0 and 20. But I think Georgia Tech can find ways. Buster Faulkner's a great offensive coordinator. I think they can find ways to manufacture some points. The question is it touchdowns? And when Georgia hits those big plays, which I think they can, will they be able to keep Georgia from scoring touchdowns and hold them to field goals?
All right, Roddy Jones with us, played his college football at Georgia Tech, now with ESPN. He'll be on the call for Oak State, Colorado today. If later this afternoon, tomorrow morning, we're sitting around talking about, man, Georgia Tech did it, what will be the main point of conversation there as to why they were able to pull it off?
Georgia Tech's ability to run the football. That would be it. We would all come in shocked. Wow, Georgia Tech was able to hold the ball for 37 minutes of the game, and they were able to run for 210 yards, and Aaron Philo threw the ball 15 times and completed 8 of them for 150 yards. That's sort of going to be that to me would be the talking point. Georgia Tech's ability to run the football, control the clock, hit plays when they do decide to throw the football. Maybe you get a Haynes King appearance. Maybe he trots out there first to sort of throw Georgia off. But I think it's going to end up being an Aaron Philo game, a guy who's one of the most prolific passers in the history of Georgia high school football. In his freshman year, goes to Georgia and controls the game. But I think it's a Jamal Haynes kind of game, man. And look, we might talk about Georgia turnovers. Has Carson Beck reverted? What did Georgia Tech figure out? Because I think all of that will have to happen in order for Georgia Tech to win this one. I think they can stick around, but in order to win it, they're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to try and find ways to turn Georgia over. Georgia Tech has not been great at creating turnovers this year. They've taken care of the football, but they haven't been great at creating turnovers. So I think all of that would go into it.
Roddy, great stuff. Thanks for joining us. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the call today, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.
I appreciate you, boys. I'm excited to see you this week. Greg doing the Iron Bowl. Let's freaking go. I'm pumped to see it.
It'll be fun. It'll be a good watch for sure. Thanks, Roddy. Catch up soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Roddy Jones of ESPN. You'll hear him on Oklahoma State and Colorado today. Hear him all across ESPN platforms doing college football. All right, we'll come back, continue Max Ball Friday, best thing about my Thanksgiving and more next right here on Mac and Cube in the morning. Black Friday live, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Friday, November 29th, 7:39 a.m., right here on Jocks 94.5. College football today, 11 a.m. on Fox. Oregon State and Boise, an interesting game. Boise at 10-1, number 11 in the country. Obviously, we know what they're playing for. The spot in the college football playoff. Ashton Jeanty, we know what that running back has been, what this team has been. This is not the Oregon State team that we've loved watching the last couple of years, Greg. And being on the blue turf, have to think it's going to be really difficult for them to knock off Boise, especially as an 18.5-point underdog.
Well, you also, though, have to acknowledge that, I think that they're very human. Don't get me wrong, Oregon State. They might be coming on at the right time. I mean, feels like it did not get off to a great start for them this year. But it does seem like things have been a little better. I will admit, I have not watched a lot of Oregon State football. I really haven't. But
it's okay.
They had lost 5 in a row.
Yeah.
And then knocked off Washington State last week in a big one. So maybe they've found themselves at the last minute. I don't know how you get blanked at Air Force 28-0 the week before, but what do I know about anything? Maybe they're saving their best for last.
Yeah, it's kind of been that year. I feel like what you just described has been a little bit, not in its totality, but a little bit indicative of just this college football season. Teams one week to the next, not really knowing who they are. Beginning of the season to the end of the season, there's been very little extreme consistency this year in college football. Just hasn't been that much of it. Also, this morning, 11 a.m., same time as you heard us mention with Roddy, Oklahoma State. We knew Ollie Gordon was going to be back. Most of the offensive line was coming back. We had a pretty good idea, Greg, at the line of scrimmage. They had a lot of guys who had played a lot of football. Thought this was going to be a very different season for Oak State. They're 3-8. They hadn't won a Big 12 game in a new Big 12 in which they thought they'd have some success. Can they be a real challenge for Colorado at home as a 16-point underdog today?
I'm not concerned. Are you concerned for
Not
them?
really, no. Especially with the way
the
Colorado's been playing defense and been playing at the line of scrimmage. Not saying it's been dominant, but it's been better. And that was an area at the beginning of the year. If you said, how's Oak State going to get that one? I'll say, well, they'll push them around. Or they'll be the more physical team. And I don't know if that's going to happen.
No, I'm with you. My thing about Colorado is if they show up today and want to go, they'll win. If they show up today and decide to mess around and play with their food, they run the risk. Because if you look at how things have gone for Oklahoma State this year, there have been moments where they've looked all right offensively. They've had moments where they can score. So if it becomes a shootout, I obviously lean towards Colorado, but I also know that Colorado might have, after the gut punch last week, maybe they've mailed it in. I mean, I think that's a possibility.
I would not say that is not out of the realm of possibility. All right, a couple of you guys tweeting in a few different things that we asked you, the best part about your Thanksgiving. We'll get to those on the other side, get a couple of responses there, get to our top 3. First, I'll tell you about Gusty Goulas and the Gusty Goulas Group. Do you want to get into a new home? Do you know what your current home's value is? It's easy. Get your phone right now. Go to GustyGoulasGroup.com, button at the top of the page. Smash that. Very little information, and you can find out what your home is worth. Gusty Goulas Group can do that for you, brokered by eXp Realty. Why? Well, they've done it for over 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. They know what homes are coming to market. They know where the buyers are, and they're going to aggressively find those for you. Since 2012, Gusty Goulas Group has been recognized both nationally, locally as greater Birmingham, Alabama's #1 team in homes sold. Over 830 5-star Google reviews. Go Google Gusty Goulas Group right now for yourself. See what other folks are saying about them. 205-542-1996 or GustyGoulasGroup.com. Call 205-542-1996 now and start packing. Top 3, best part about your Thanksgiving, and we continue Max Ball next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Black Friday, we are live here on WJOX all day, getting you set for the college football season. It is 7:46 Friday, November 29th. Listen online, jocksfm.com. App is in your app store, iPhone, Android. Download that for free. Watch live on YouTube. Get your podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get those, including jocksfm.com. And you're going to have football all weekend long right here on WJOX. You're going to be able to listen to the Iron Bowl right here on Jocks. And college football going to be rolling for the entire weekend. Asked you on Twitter, what's your favorite part about your Thanksgiving? Will Smith says pre-dinner walk. David Palmer.
Pre?
That's what he said, pre. David Palmer, spending time with family. Wayne Johnson, hanging out with my boys and friends. John Hill, other than time with the fam, being able to hunt in Tennessee, also watching the disaster at the end of the Chicago game, that's generational talent, quote unquote. Okay. Steve Sample, chance to remind those gathered at our table to whom thanks should be given. I'll quickly tell you, obviously, listen, being around family and being able to share things with them, that's obviously going to be the best part. But inside of all of that, I think the best part of my Thanksgiving was that we've gotten to the point now that my 4-year-old believes that he can handle my 7-year-old in football. Mm-hmm. And seeing like the grit on his face trying to get my 7-year-old to the ground, knowing it's never going to happen. It was incredible because my 7-year-old's just laughing at him, and he's like real mad, trying to get him to the ground.
Playing with his food.
Yep,
can't be doing that.
Even though he's getting Penei Sewelled, he's still trying.
We did get him going for the ball more.
There we go.
I was like, hey, if he's gonna Eric Dickerson that ball, man, like you got to swipe that thing out. Yeah. Somebody yesterday had an awesome punch too down by the goal line. I think it might have been that Chicago game.
Oh, with Jameer Gibbs.
It was like right. I've seen more of those this year, like right on the ball, direct punches at the football, get the ball out this year. And I know guys are working on it more and talking about it more, but that was a good one. So, Damian, best part of your Thanksgiving?
Man, all of it, man. It was we had a great time going
down to the country. The question is the best part. We know all of it was what you did, but the best part of all of it.
Probably Thanksgiving pep rally because it's something that we kind of do now because we do advance in the playoffs pretty deep. But just watching the Maplesville Red Devils, the Young Bucks, man, like the older I get, the more it's like, okay, you got to soak these moments in.
Man, that's disappointing. I was legitimately waiting to hear about you and your family walking out in the front yard and having like a family pep rally to get ready for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm not expecting high school.
Which actually would be incredible. Like you had two family, like Greg and his cousin like play saxophone and trumpet out there and like they get it going.
Yep.
And then you got like somebody else comes out there with the announcements and gets you set. Like, and
then mom brings out the turkey to
somebody
like it's the Bulls from the 90s.
Instead of like the 25 foot by 25 foot paper, you have like the 3 foot wide, just like copy sheets taped together with some like Happy Thanksgiving. Somebody comes running through it. I might pitch that for the family next year. Thanksgiving pep rally for the fam.
Genius.
Just, hey, get everybody excited for that turkey. Let's go. Except for Greg's house, we get excited for chicken.
Chicken, right?
Chicken. That's right.
That'd be a chicken run in his house.
There you go. All right. Top 3 for today.
I'm trying to think. Like you didn't ask me what my favorite thing was. Golly,
did I not ask him in the first segment of the show?
Started off the show with, but yeah.
Oh, that was a long time ago though. Different audience right now. Different audience.
Well, give us your next best favorite thing of your Thanksgiving.
First day off in 94 days. Literally first day with nothing to do in 94 days.
Humble brag.
Yesterday. Not a humble brag.
Yeah, that's out.
How is that a brag?
You're just
you're so
important
working 94 straight days.
You're important.
No, it's not fun. It was actually quite literally. What's the opposite of bragging? Self-deprecating. It's honestly self-deprecating. Yeah, 94 straight days. I was like, golly, really? Had to look it up though. Felt good about it though. Didn't do anything yesterday. It was phenomenal.
Like I said, that one little small nap that I got yesterday was worth everything.
Clutch. Big.
Clutch. Had to have it. All right, top 3 today, Damian. Is today our underdog day?
Yeah, but we're switching up this week.
We're switching
it up today. We're switching it up today.
It feels right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Iron Bowl, man.
Okay.
It's Iron Bowl week. So I want to know, Cole, you got to dig deep. I want to know who your top 3 Bammers are. And Greg, I want to know who your top 3 Barners are.
Well, Cole's number 1.
Like, what's the? I was gonna say, like, what's the criteria? Like, we need. I don't want criteria here, but
yeah, just like your favorite
players
in general, or watching, or
watch that you've seen with your own 2 eyes.
But we're not including like friends.
I mean, if you want to.
I have some of my best friends in this world played football at Alabama. So
okay. If you want to put them up there. But I would prefer like guys you enjoy.
These colors don't run.
Watching play.
I don't like any of them.
All right, so we're talking football acumen in the opposite uniform.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Okay, so we have classified that edition. I'll go number 1. I'm going to go Chris Samuels. Number 2, I'm going to go Landon Dickerson. And number 3, I'm going to go with Tyler Booker.
Oh, Tyler Book already. Wow.
Already?
Okay.
I haven't seen a lot of guys in that uniform play the way that he does. And 2 of them that did it better than him, I just named.
Okay.
Now, if we were going all time, just kind of random everything, it would be Griff Redmill, Greg McElroy. Man, number 3 would be, because they have to have played. Let's say they have to have played. Who's another former Alabama player that I enjoy their presence? Nobody. That's it.
Tyler Watts?
That's it. Done.
That's what it is.
Maybe Tyler?
Tyler Watts is a rival forever. Not just Auburn, but Pelham.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't like
See,
the
people
Panthers.
who
I
grew up
never
in
have.
people who grew up in the late 90s don't understand the
Yeah.
hype machine that was Tyler Watts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he was Birmingham's Peyton Manning.
Correct.
Legend.
And by God, we were tired of hearing about it. He was in the 8th grade, and everybody's like, man, I'm telling you, if Tyler Watts was playing up, y'all would have lost that game. Play his ass up then. We'd love to have him. He was a really good high school athlete, though.
Gregory?
Was that the last Birmingham Alabama quarterback?
No,
Birmingham
John Parker.
the
base?
one right before you.
John Parker?
Oh, John Parker. Well, Hoover's its own animal.
They are.
That's right.
They got their own
That's right.
area code now, I think. Yeah.
That's right.
Are
Yeah.
they ludicrous? All right.
No.
By the way,
That's right.
over Thanksgiving, my son pulled the baby Wilson baseball card with the Royals.
Ross?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
No, it's not Ross.
Oh, yeah.
It's the baby one. I don't even know his first name.
Peyton.
I'm like, when do these stop? When do the Wilsons playing college and pro sports stop? Do we just go? Like, I don't.
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Deeper roster, them in baseball or the Wayans?
I'm gonna go them in baseball or just them in sports. Period. Yeah,
Because we're on like 3rd generation of Wayans now.
yeah, but
Wayans?
I don't know who
Really?
the new ones are. So I'm gonna go Wilsons.
Okay.
Love that. Yeah, Wayne's good. I think Wilson's there. I'd take Wilson's.
Number 3, by the way, I'm
Um,
just gonna throw him in. Jeff Allen. I don't even know why it came to my mind, but he's like the world's nicest guy every time I go to Tuscaloosa and see him. So you can tell him I said that, Greg.
Yeah, he's a good person.
How about
Very
this?
good man.
Listen, I'll tell you
Love him.
a quick Jeff Allen story. I'm going to ruin the segment. We'll do it on the other side, though. What was the last Alabama game I had? Vanderbilt. I went over and watched practice, and he and I were just talking over the side a bit. I said, hey, do you know when your Achilles is about to snap? He said, what are you talking about? I said, I feel like my left Achilles is about to go. Literally, it's just about to blow. And he's like, well, hold on. Let me see. He gets down on a knee. He's like working it there a little bit. He goes, come on. He just shows me like 10 stretches over on the side. He goes, listen, you ever want to come down here for treatment? Just come on. Just let me know. I'll come down there.
Boy.
I was like, if that was not 50 minutes away, I might be in there every morning before the show. If that was Sanford offering me that, especially him, I might be there every morning. What are you doing here again? I don't know. I need treatment somewhere.
I was told if I ever needed treatment.
Back, heel, knee,
My body
Achilles,
hurts.
shoulder.
Right.
Yeah, just ice and stem somewhere, please. Sorry.
Anywhere. Doesn't even matter.
All right, we'll do.
Well,
hold on. You're not gonna have time, so it's fine. We'll do yours.
why? There's only
Okay,
like 2 or
go.
3 good Barners ever, so I can find.
I think we established on Wednesday.
this
Cam
would
is
be-
not getting in there.
Cam's gonna miss. Narrow miss. Even though I do respect Cam's video that you sent me the other day. Very much appreciate Cam.
Yes.
Maybe Cam's growing. Maybe he's on the nice list this
You
year.
fight a couple kids, all of a sudden you get perspective.
Hey, the way he
My
talks about
number
those
one-
kids, though, they deserve it.
My number 1 is still Pat Sullivan. I'm
Awesome
not sure
guy.
anyone will ever pass Pat Sullivan. He was a gentleman, just a good man. I think he will probably always be number 1 in my eyes. And we can get to the other 2 later.
Okay.
It'd be easier for me to say like Damian Craig, T-Rob. Like there's a bunch of good. Like I got a bunch of buddies. Takeo Spikes.
Also, you're,
Like
you're a
I
big
got
Auburn
a
guy.
lot of buddies
You're a
over
big
there.
Auburn guy.
Yeah, we know you didn't play on scout team against Akio then because he would not be on that list.
I would never be on scout team.
I was. I wanted to spend more time developing.
That's what they call it.
That is it. It is Black Friday, and we are live on Jocks 94.5. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Going to finish up our previous segment here in just a moment. A couple folks coming in via Twitter. We asked favorite part about your Thanksgiving this year, Jamie Bailey, family time, and the dressing and pecan pie. Best dessert you had for Thanksgiving?
Somehow a gluten-free, dairy-free peanut butter
stop.
pie.
You're done. Next.
Sweet potato pie.
Okay.
I mean, the lady has to have it for Thanksgiving.
But you had.
Yeah, it was.
But you don't have to have that.
No, but there were other things. I said what I said.
You chose that?
I wanted to see what it tastasted like, and I was like, wow, I was not expecting this from this.
Okay.
And now John Saber is going straight. He's going straight keto desserts from now on.
No, again, she has to have that. I don't.
Probably had a breathe off.
But you're in.
You did. I know I would. All right. Damien, you said sweet potato pie. Greg, best dessert you had?
Strawberry pretzel salad.
Thought we were counting that as a side, but okay.
Nope.
I was actually going to say
it can't be
the
a
same
dessert
thing,
if you have it during the meal.
It's the only thing that I went back for more for. Now, my first plate was a lot. It was
a nice helping.
Like literally last night before I drove home, my mother-in-law, she's like, "Do you want a little strawberry pretzel salad for the road?" And I was like, "I do not need that. I can't do that." I said, "But I will have a couple bites real quick." And we're all sitting around talking. I bet I had 22 bites out of the pan, and I was just like, "Well, didn't need any more, but just hammered half of what was left." So
why not?
Let's do it.
Send it.
Jolly tweets in Bo Jackson, Tequila Spikes, Philip Lutzenkirchen. Great list. All right, Davey, let's finish up our top three. As far as well, I don't know what.
Yeah, Greg still has two more.
Oh, okay, Greg. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I didn't. I gave it to you. I gave you Tequila Spikes. I gave you Pat Sullivan.
Oh, those are your three.
T-Rob, Damian Craig,
and T-Rob.
Top 8.
I got you.
So how do you two do this?
We do Barn and Bammers.
Oh,
yeah, we get both.
Double down.
Yeah, we double.
Have at it. Let's go.
My top three: Alabama, Reuben Foster, Devontae Smith, Derrick Henry.
Okay. No recency bias with any of your top threes ever.
So do I have to do Barner then?
No, you can do it. Well, I'm doing my Barnes too. Yeah, Cam Newton number 1, Kenny Irons number 2, and Dontarius Thomas number 3.
DT was fun to watch. Boy, he could fly. We knew when DT was on scout team, he was going to be something different. And he was like maybe 101 pounds playing outside linebacker.
It was like thumper.
But he could run, man. He didn't care. He'd try to knock you out every time.
John?
For Auburn, number 1, it's Cam. I mean, I ain't seen nothing like that. Number 2 is Lutzy. I mean, he such a great player. Number 3, Takeo. I still have yet to see a neck smaller on a human. I mean, he's been out the game for a while, and it still looks like it could. Yeah,
Number 1.
Correct. Yes.
He might be better just to listen to now than like do. I don't know how Auburn doesn't use him in like 7 hype videos a year.
Man,
because he would do it, but he'll get you going. There's no doubt. He was one of the few guys that when he stood up to say something, literally everybody stopped. A lot of guys tried to get up there and be like, hey. 14 guys, and the DBs are always still talking, or the receivers are still talking.
Went to Gio.
Every single time he stood up, and it was done. Didn't matter if it was Craig, Victor Riley, Martavius. Didn't matter. Whoever it was, everybody stopped and listened to what he said. All right.
Now you Bammers.
Go.
Julio, Sean Alexander, and I'll be nice, Greg McElroy.
Oh.
Be nice.
Wow. Needed that.
He did have that fourth quarter blowout touchdown pass against Auburn.
He did. I saw
Swiss
the block he threw in the Capital One Bowl.
That's the one.
That was the Kirk Cousins
cemented him.
That was the go-to. There you go.
I need to watch out for this guy.
I feel like I won't say it.
What? That was a touchdown block. If Julio
doesn't get I feel like, when you put it on the line for your team, you go out and put your body on the line. That's what you do. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. I don't know why I shouldn't get credit for doing my job, my opinion, but what do I know? If a guy's in front of you and a guy's running behind you and you're the lead blocker, like, what am I going to do? Not hit him?
Fair.
All right. Well,
or if a guy was returning a, touchdown to the house on a pick, like, what am I going to do? Not hit him? Like, I mean, come on. To me, it's like no doubter. Everyone always talks about that block. Like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Not hit, like, not tackle him, not block him. Like, I'm gonna freaking hit that guy as hard as I can.
If he doesn't want credit, I'll just take him off the list then. All right. We'll replace Greg with AJ McCarron.
Oh,
there you go.
All right, so that's the top 3. Bring it to you each and every day right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It's going to be chilly for about the next week, and I just saw game time temps 53 at kick, 41 at the end of the game. So you're going to want to bundle up if you're heading over to Tuscaloosa to go to the game, which means, Greg, you might need to make a trip to the Pants Store today.
Yeah, Pants Store is your game day headquarters. You can go and check it out. They really do a good job of making sure that they have layers and they have best brands. And it doesn't really matter what side of the Iron Bowl you're pulling for. They have stuff for you. Probably more Auburn stuff available. Let's be honest, the Bama stuff's selling better, I'm sure. So go and check out the Pants Store right now. They have game day gear for either side, for men and women, for kids as well. The best brands. You get free alterations. You also, one thing that I really like, you can go and get those clear purses, because I know it's a little frustrating sometimes going through, and it's sometimes a hassle for the ladies to go through. But those clear purses make it a little easier when you're going through security. So go and check them out at one of their amazing locations. It's the Pants Store.
And Greg's right. Listen, it's been a better year for Alabama than Auburn. So I think that there probably is more gear gone. The good news for Alabama fans, if you don't have said gear, is after the Oklahoma donkey kick, you can probably just go down to Goodwill and get your Alabama gear.
I'm sure there's some there. I'm sure there's some there. There's
for your
no doubt.
new Auburn gear, because their season has only gotten a little bit better here late, head over to the Pants Store. That's all you got. All right.
I'm sure there's plenty of Alabama gear at Goodwill
Never wear
after
this
last
jacket
week's
again.
performance. I told them. I said this was their last chance.
Burn this shirt, honey. I'll drop it at Goodwill. All right, so let's talk a little bit of the 89th edition of the Iron Bowl. First played in 1892. Alabama leads the series 50-37-1. Alabama won 4 straight, longest win streak since they won 9 in a row from 73 to 81. Alabama's also won 6 straight in Tuscaloosa. Last loss in the series came in 2010. We've revisited it plenty of times. No need to rub it in. We don't need to do that anymore. Auburn will go on to win the national title that year. First time since 1994. The Iron Bowl will be on ABC.
Let's go.
It's been a minute
Let's
since that's
go.
happened.
They mad.
Has been on the family of ESPN networks, but not ABC in quite some time. Both teams, by the way, entered that game without a loss. That was Alabama 10-0, Auburn 9-0-1. So this one we look at, Greg, is just as far as some of the things that we'll be paying close attention to. I think starting for me, both plans when Auburn has the football. I'm really interested to see, because Auburn had primary success with the zone play last week. I think I counted, you may have charted it a bit more, I think I counted 2 gap scheme runs for Auburn last week against A&M. Some of that determined by the A&M fronts, how they were playing it and how active they were. You've heard my dismay with the Alabama 3-man front that they played last weekend with guys like Quay Russo just kind of walking around as a different creeper. I didn't like it. I think if that's what you get a little bit more of, though, you may stick with more zone against this team. Auburn traditionally, over the last couple of years, against the Saban tree of defenses, has had big success with gap scheme run, counters, misdirections, things of that nature. What are you kind of anticipating, Greg, for it to look like just plan-wise when Auburn has the football?
Well, I think it's going to be important that Peyton Thorne pulls it 3, maybe 4 times in the run game just to keep flow. And it's something that you always need to be mindful of with him. Like, I think he's a decent runner. And you look at the bigger the game, the more likely he is to probably pull 1 or 2 here or there just to keep the defense honest. I think it's also really important for them to try to attack the edges and attack the alleys just outside, kind of between the tackle and the slot receiver. I think that's an area that has been hit a couple times against Alabama this year. And if you look at how they ran it, just some called runs against Kentucky, I think there's some application from the Kentucky plan to the Alabama plan. That would be my anticipation. So I think running the ball is really important. And then I think it's going to be really important for Cam Coleman to continue to play well, because you can't bracket Keandre Lambert-Smith anymore in obvious passing downs. And I think Cam Coleman's emergence the last couple of weeks makes this offense a lot more balanced as far as its distribution, and him no longer being a slight liability and him being kind of a size-speed combination mismatch makes it pretty tough to defend the offense when they're operating at full speed.
outside of the Kentucky win, which statistically was a little bit of an anomaly, there's a pretty big difference between wins and losses in Peyton Thorne rushing yards. He'd be close to 4 yards rushing per carry in Auburn wins and would be close to being under a yard per carry in Auburn losses when he's played. But like I said, that Kentucky one, 12 carries for 10 yards. That one just a little bit different, as Jarquez Hunter did most of the heavy lifting in that game. And then I think the surprising one would be kind of the A&M game, where it felt like it was more explosive plays down the field as to why he helped Auburn find some success, 11 for 38 in that game. So 3.5 yards per carry. I'm with you, Greg. I said 40 yards, the total that he needs to get to in this game for Auburn to be able to have a chance to win. And it's not for the yards, as you stated. You have to force Alabama to defend it because, let's be honest, you're not going to go push this group around. But I will say, the offensive line that Auburn has intact now gives them the best chance. If this was one of the offensive lines we saw in weeks 1, 3, 5, I wouldn't think that they had a good chance to just get a traditional running game going. But still, you're not that good up front to just be able to play bully ball. And then I think, too, moving him out just a little bit to give him the option to run or throw, not from an RPO standpoint, but let him roll out, see what he can do against the defense that's not there. Give him a 1-2. If it's not, pull it down, run it. Play a little bit safe, and then if you need to try to get to the sideline, pick up 4 or 5, great. But don't put the ball in harm's way. I don't think Auburn can go more than one turnover in this game and find a way to win. But how does DJ Durkin on the other side, Greg, how do they find a way to do something similar to what Zach Alley, Brent Venables did last week and confuse Jalen Milroe to potentially get him into some turnovers?
Well, I think a big part of it is it starts up front. You got to be able to kind of apply pressure without blitzing. I think if you like last week, and if you look at how Auburn has played against mobile quarterbacks, they're not going to be a group that's going to call a lot of pressures. That's not what they are. That's not what they do. So I would anticipate this being a pretty modest plan as far as the amount of pressure that they're going to apply. But the problem is when you look at Alabama, they have struggled against the blitz this year. When teams have kind of increased the urgency for Milroe, it hasn't been quite as good. I mean, Vandy blitzed a lot, Oklahoma blitzed a lot, and Tennessee blitzed a decent amount as well. In the first half, the only time they really played well against the blitz this year was the first half against Georgia. Other than that, it hasn't been great. So, and we know that Jalen doesn't do a great job with his eyes. He's not great in anticipating pressure. He's not great at diagnosing things and having a plan. He just tries to win with athleticism, and that can be beneficial sometimes, but it also can be to his detriment. So I think it'll be curious to see how Auburn heats him up and if they tried to add the extra guy a couple times and speed that process up even more.
I want to see if Auburn can get home without doing what you just stated, but I do think with some of the ways that DJ Durkin has lined up different defenders in different ways recently, we've seen different players down inside. We've seen some of the edge players lined up off the ball, on the ball. I think that's going to be another way because you've got to use. I think one of the advantages for Durkin in this game is when you look at some of the personnel that he had and the ways that Oklahoma. And I'll tell you this, Greg, in our meetings, I asked both Zach Alley and Brent Venables about it. They both downplayed it as to, well, that's just our defense. It's kind of how we run it. And I was like, no, you guys were pretty creative with how you misguided the end man on the line of scrimmage and got Jalen to believe that some things were there, were not there. I think it forced a lot of missed non-handoffs, a lot of missed keeps for him in that game. And I think Auburn can do something a little bit similar to that with the athleticism that they have that can be lined up in different places. We've talked about Jalen McLeod all year. He's been pretty good off the ball, but you can use him on the ball. Kieran Crawford, same thing. Now you've even found different ways to take somebody who I thought was going to completely spend the majority of his time into Marcus Riddick off the ball, on the ball a little bit as well. And then you've taken guys like Keldrick Falk, moved him down inside, outside. I think that can go a long way, Greg, with if it is going to be a lot of read in the run game, which I personally, this is just me, I don't know what they want to do or plan to do. If it were me, it would be a lot of called direct runs in this game. And I would do that with heavier personnel, and I would try to lean, for long periods of time because I think you could wear this defense down. But if not, I think Auburn has the personnel, and Durkin has shown that he'll draw it up that way to be able to confuse Jalen Milroe in that Alabama offense on the edges. I don't know about coverage-wise, but on the edges at least, I think they can pull that off.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the goal, is to kind of cloud the read. And the teams that have kind of created indecision there with him have kind of got him in scramble mode, and that's been a little bit problematic. And you look at the 3 worst rushing performances of the year, they lost all 3. And the run game's going to go. If Jalen's making good decisions, then the run game's got a chance. Like, I think they could run it right downhill at him, personally. Like, I think they can do that. Who are the teams this year that have really committed to a downhill rushing attack against Auburn? Like, if you look last week at the A&M game, it was circumstantial where they kind of had to drop back and throw it probably more than they wanted to.
Yeah, but they started that way, Greg. It was, I've been pretty clear. I didn't like it. I thought it was egregious to come out and throw the ball around the way they did early.
Yeah. I also think too, I'm not, maybe they had some things in, but who's the team this year that is really, really, really committed with relentless support to the run game against Auburn? I don't know who that is. So I think that would be the approach that I would take if I were Alabama. Some call it run it runs. I would favor the left side, obviously. I think that Auburn's pretty good up front. I do. I think they're disruptive, and I think they can create some problems, and they can penetrate, and they can make some plays behind the sticks. But I also don't know if they've been challenged the way this group could challenge if they just commit to running the football. So that's something I think is going to be really interesting, is the run game for Alabama. And if it can't go, how quick did they abandon it? Or did they just stay patient with it, knowing that it'll pop at some point, but it might be 4 or 5 or 6 yards a pop. It might not have the big hitters like they've had at times this year.
All right, how many teams you guys think? I think some of the Auburn rush numbers are better than people believe. How many teams you guys think have rushed for over 100 yards against Auburn this year? 100, just 100 yards.
2.
3.
I was gonna say 3.
Okay, it's 5, but it's.
I don't know.
You start holding that many more. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 have been held under 100, and 4 of the last 5 have been held under 100. Arkansas.
What's the most attempts they've faced?
The most attempts was Arkansas, 55 for 183. It's still just 3.3 per carry, and how many of that were quarterback scrambles?
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Green was a monster in that game. Leaving the pocket, and that was, remember, we came in here on that Monday saying, where was the contain? Like, where was the spy? Nobody was home. He got off the edge, and all of a sudden he was by himself. The next highest attempts, Greg, would be 38 for Vanderbilt, but they had 84 yards rushing. 52 for A&M. Sorry. God, A&M ran the ball 52 times in that game. I did not feel like that happened. 52 for 167. Did not feel like the rush attempts were that high.
There's a decent amount of snaps played in that game, too.
That's fair. Yeah, that is fair.
I
but still, I don't think that
overtimes.
those felt like there were that many. But yeah.
No. I think a big part of it, though, for Alabama is going to be taking some of the pressure off Jalen Milroe, committing to the run game. I think the passing attack has had its moments this year, but I don't know if it's something that I'd really trust. If I'm the staff, I don't trust the passing game. I don't trust Jalen. I don't trust the receivers, and that's obviously the protection. I don't trust that either. There's a lot of things that got to go for the passing game to feel great about. So I think it'll be worth watching just how much of a commitment is made to the run game by Alabama. Because if you look at how Alabama, really this game is all about who runs the ball better. Seriously. If you really look at it, Auburn's 5 best rushing performances this season are all victories. Kentucky, New Mexico, ULM, Alabama A&M, and Texas A&M. Their 6 worst rushing performances, where they run for 146 or less, they lost every single one of those games, which is wild. It really is wild when you think about it. Alabama, on the other hand, when they've put too much, their 3 worst rushing performances of the year, Vandy, Tennessee, Oklahoma, all losses. They didn't eclipse 84 yards in any of the 3. And you look at the amount of snaps that Jalen was responsible for against Vandy, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. 31 of 45 against Vandy. That was Jalen. 59 of 79 were Jalen against Tennessee, and 41 of 57 were Jalen against Oklahoma. Like, giving it to him on 3/4 of the offensive snaps is not a winning recipe, not with his inconsistency.
No, and maybe being committed to it is a part of that formula that you just referenced in the wins this year, minus Alabama A&M. We'll throw that one out. The other wins for Auburn this year, 40 rush attempts, 50 rush attempts, 38 and 41 rush attempts. They've been committed to it in the games that they've won. And that's something that's going to have to happen in this game. And I agree with you. Quickly, before we go to break, if I were to throw out a number, say Auburn has to rush for blank to beat Alabama, Greg, what would that number be for you?
Well, statistically this year, if every game they've run for more than 147 yards, they've won. I think that's statistically speaking. I think this game would require more than that. I think if they're over $180, they should feel pretty good about it.
Okay. Damian?
Yeah, I was going to say like 175.
All right. John?
That's the exact number I had in my head, 175.
I was thinking somewhere just under 200, the 195, 185 range. But yeah, I think we're all in the same department of closing in on 200 is where Auburn's going to have to be rushing to be able to win this football game. A lot more talk on the Iron Bowl coming up. We got plenty more to get to. Other games in rivalry weekend because we've got some big ones today. We'll get to a couple of those when we come back. But first, Greg, tell our listeners about Bromberg's.
Well, Bromberg's the place where you're going to have that elevated experience the second you walk in the door. And now, hey, it's the holiday season. Now is the time to go into Bromberg's and start to evaluate what they have and start putting together a wish list. You can put a wish list together at any of their locations. You can go in there, say, hey, I kind of like this. I kind of like this. Make it easy on your loved ones. And then you can keep adding to it. You can subtract from it, whatever you want to do. Bromberg's is the place that I would shop if I need a gift, if I need a present. We got anniversaries, Christmas, birthdays, all that stuff coming up. Bromberg's is the first place and last place that I go. Go and experience that luxury shopping experience that is unique to the place that's been around for nearly 200 years here, serving this community for a really, really long time. Multiple generations have been shopping at Bromberg's. Go to Mountain Brook Village and or the Summit. You can always shop online at brombergs.com.
All right, we'll come back, talk more rivalry weekend, Max Ball, Black Friday next. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving, beginning of rivalry weekend. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Watch live on YouTube. Search Jocks945. Listen online, JocksFM.com. Tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill, and you can always listen that way. Eric McLean is going to be with us after our next segment. We'll talk to Eric just about some of the ACC, SEC battles that are going to be going on. Let's step into a couple of those, GMAC. South Carolina Clemson feels like a really intriguing game for a lot of different reasons. South Carolina comes in number 15, Clemson number 12, 8-3, 9-2, 11 a.m. on ESPN is where you'll get this one. Clemson a 3-point favorite at home. That South Carolina defense has got to be big. I think they have to disrupt. I don't think people understand that Clemson runs the football as well as they do. I mean, we know how, but still, they're productive. They're on the ground. Obviously, Cade Klubnik has not turned the ball over with just 4 picks this year. And against that front, it's going to be tough. Specifically with the way they do it against that front is going to be tough. This team does not want to get into obvious pass downs against South Carolina. Now, I don't think they're built to hold up there. Not a lot of teams are. But I think South Carolina defense probably needs 2 turnovers to be able to get a win in this game, because I think Clemson's defense can complicate it. And South Carolina, even when they've been good offensively, they've gotten away with a few. They put the ball on the ground some. And that's got to stop in this game, specifically on the road. But I think South Carolina also has to take the ball away. I think the Gamecocks win, though. I think Lenore Sellers, they can go a little bit more high percentage, run the football, and I think that defense shows up. It's a big one for them against an offensive line that's just not overly physical. I like the Gamecocks, GMAC, to be able to get this one on the road.
I don't see the path to victory for Clemson, personally. I don't think they're the more physical team. I don't think that they'll be able to. I mean, I saw them a couple weeks ago against Pitt, and I just think Pitt got after them pretty good. I mean, really good up front. I think South Carolina will stop the run. I do think that Cade Klubnik's legs can keep him honest a little bit, because his willingness to take off this year and effectiveness when he has taken off has been excellent. I just don't know if this is a group that you're going to be able to keep him in front of you. I don't see that at all. And I don't know if you feel good about it, but I really don't feel good about this offensive line. Like, I think they rush in outside in, and their linebackers are physical. I don't think the passing attack is very good for Clemson. I think it's okay. I think they're fine. I just don't think the receivers are super elite. I just don't like the matchup for Clemson. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, I don't. I don't feel great about it at all. So I'm going Gamecocks, Damien, South Carolina, or Clemson.
It just feels too obvious. That's my only holdup. It just feels so obvious that everybody's on South Carolina.
Well, it's on the road. Tough place to play. It's a big game. I know things that are a little bit different with today's college football player, but specifically from a Clemson standpoint, there aren't a lot of new guys there. I mean, you think about rivalry weekend, this may be a team that benefits from that a little bit. It's the guys that have been around. They've heard how important this game is. They've played in this game more. So does that, and I mean, how many points could you really give that if it does? There's not many, but Damien, which way you go with this one?
Yeah, I'm going South Carolina.
John?
The wrong team is favored. I think South Carolina gets. Maybe it's just me, but I don't see why Clemson's favored.
I think it's just because they're there and their quarterback has not been turning the football over recently. That would be probably the main reasons that's taken place for me. One that's extremely different than what we thought it was going to be a while back is Florida and Florida State. Beginning of the year, this was one of those November losses that we chalked up for Billy Napier. Now Florida is a 16.5-point favorite. 16.5 points in this game. If there was a preseason line on this and you were able to get it, wow, how different that would be now. Florida 6-5, looking to get to 7 wins. Florida State could go to 2-10 on the season. 6 o'clock ESPN2 is where you'll get this one from the Doak. 48 at kick, by the way. Similar to what you said about Clemson, Greg, I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this one. I don't see a path to victory for Florida State in this game. If you do, please present it.
I don't have it unless Florida screws it up. I don't see how Florida State wins the game. And Florida State's the team that's been screwing it up way more often than Florida has, at least in the last few weeks.
Okay, Damien?
Florida by a landslide.
They cover?
Yeah, I think.
Greg, you think they cover?
No.
John?
I do, but I don't think they're covering the whole game. But ultimately,
they're not built to run away from anybody. Like, they're a grinded out team. They'll win comfortably. They'll win by 14. It'll feel like they won by 35.
Yeah, but you can see. I mean, when this is one of those, like you brought up the Glenn Coffey Auburn game. earlier in the week. This is one that I feel like when it starts going that way, it can get ugly. And for a team like Florida State that might be ready to check out or already has checked out, you start giving up big chunks on the ground, that thing can get out of hand in a hurry. I mean, big time. And I kind of see it going that way. I could see what Greg's talking about. Like maybe Florida just doesn't convert in the red zone a couple of times, but they're getting big chunks and the game goes kind of quick. But I could also see Florida just walking away. If Florida scores on their first 2 possessions, watch out. Then, I mean, it could be, and I don't think Billy will keep his foot on the gas. That could be the other thing to be careful with. The things
you don't think he's going to keep his foot on the gas?
I don't think he will, no, because if you listen to him, they tried to bait him into some questions this week, and he was kind of like, listen, man, I got my own problems here. We got a lot of stuff we're dealing with. Like, the last thing I need to do is be talking about issues that somebody else might have. Like, I don't think this doesn't have the venom, I don't feel like, from him right now. Maybe it'll get there if he stays, but I think he probably has a pretty good idea of what Norvell's going through based on the beginning of this year and last year. And he wants to win. I don't feel like he feels like he has to win by 40. I just don't. I don't think that's him.
No. And honestly, like Florida State, maybe it's their last gasp too. I mean, I would want that for Mike Norvell. Like, I really like Mike Norvell. I think he's a good coach. I think he's just got a bad roster. I think I'm a little questionable on their competitive character to an extent. Yeah. I mean, that's concerning. I think for the long-term health and prosperity, I have some concerns for sure, but I still like Mike Norvell and I still want what's best for him. And I would imagine that Billy behind closed doors probably likes Mike too. Like, he's a coach's coach. So I think he probably likes him. So I don't think he's trying to twist the knife by any stretch. But man, I mean, it's hard for me to envision a scenario where Florida State's able to consistently move the football against Billy in this defense. Like, I think this defense in the front has really been good these last few weeks and is quietly playing their best football of the season down the stretch.
Florida State has not suffered 10 losses since 1974 in a season. They went 1-10 after they went 0-11 in 73. So it's been a minute since this has happened. Also, if you're looking to little action on this game, the betting favorite has won each of the last 10 meetings and 17 of the last 18 in this game. So Florida 14.5 point favorite. Just keep in mind kind of where that one is and where that one
is. It on ACC Network? What channel is it on?
It's on ESPN2, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. You'll be able to catch that one, and it will be entertaining to say the least. All right, you guys know it's hit a couple members of my family. Flu season here. Train wants you to know that you can help prevent that in your home. Make your home healthier with Train's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus, 100 times more effective than standard air filters, 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Train.com. It's hard to stop a train. More Max Ball Friday next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Rivalry weekend, Black Friday, college football coming up today. There's a lot of it. And it's going to get started early this morning, 11 a.m. Oregon State at Boise on Fox. 11 a.m. Oklahoma State at Colorado, ABC. 11 a.m. Minnesota, Wisconsin, CBS. They play for something. Is that the Giant Axe game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paul Bunyan's axe. It's one of my favorite trophies. The thing
Pauly
I like
B's
about
axe.
the thing I like about that one is you go take that thing from their
yeah.
sideline as soon as you get it.
Yes.
There's no basketball game swap. There's no trophy room like presentation after the game or in the press
This
meeting
is coming
afterwards.
home with me.
You go get that thing off their sideline right then.
This
Give
is
me
a-
my axe.
This is a trophy game because it's not a trinket. You
No,
can get a
that
trinket.
is a damn
you go
trophy.
and get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
11 a.m. CBS Sports Network. Ball State at Ohio. I don't know if they play for a thing or not. I don't know. 11 a.m. Navy ECU ESPN, and then we get the Egg Bowl 2:30 on ABC. Greg. The big part of this game is where is Ole Miss mentally and emotionally.
That's everything
It's
in this
all of
game.
it. Yeah, because State's going to bring aggression. State's going to play hard. They have played hard all year. I know you look at the scoreboard and say, God, they're terrible. But when you put the film on, their running backs run hard. Most of the offensive linemen play hard. The defense flies around. Now, they're in the wrong place a lot of the time. But they fly around. They try to hurt you, and they're very
It's not for
light.
a lack of effort.
No, but and they're here where people have been able to get them. They're very light up front. They don't have a lot of traditional edge defenders, D tackles, D ends. But Ole Miss hadn't pushed anybody around this year when they've
None.
had the football. So could that be enough for State to be able to cause? They had some good pressures last week against Missouri too, dialed some up. So, but I still think Greg, it all goes back to how much does Ole Miss even want to be in this game?
I think that's the big problem with it. Is not that Ole Miss has a significant advantage. I mean, Ole Miss can, and they can name their score if they really want to. It's just will they want to? You know, I do think them being at home is beneficial. There's a lot of guys on that roster, and there's a lot of guys that were brought in for one reason and one reason alone, to go and win and win a championship. And Jackson Dart, though, and a couple others, like, can he rally the troops? I think he probably can. But I don't know about you. Like, I don't think Ole Miss runs it well enough to take significant advantage of Mississippi State's flaws.
Well,
like, Mississippi State's a super flawed football team. You better be able to run it on them, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Most everybody, and I'll say Missouri struggled to run it last week. I mean, that's Nate Newell had like 17 for 95, but they were grinded out yards. It wasn't 22, 18, 11, 40. I mean, they had to work for it. And if there's one guy I'm not worried about showing up, it's Jackson Dart. I mean, he's going to play hard. He'll take some hits if he needs to. I'm not worried about him, but a lot of others, you just wonder. You just don't know. We got a lot more to get to. We'll move on and talk about some of those other ACC, SEC matchups with Eric McLean. He played in the Palmetto State Classic Showdown,
Feels like a
Palmetto
trinket.
State
That's a
Rivalry,
trinket.
whatever that one is. He's played in that one, and we'll talk to him about it next right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We are live on Black Friday talking rivalry weekend. We'll get to a couple more of those SEC, ACC matchups with Eric McLean here in just a moment on Jocks 94.5.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year. They're the national champions and the dealer that will make sure that you have an elevated experience. There's a reason why they've been named the GMC Dealer of the Year. They're the national champions 7 times. There's also a reason why 75% of their business is repeat customers. That's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Go and check them out right up the road, I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. You also will acknowledge that, man, the deals that they have available to you are off the charts. To get $20,000 off a Hummer is amazing. $20,000 off a Hummer plus 0% for 60 months. A lot of places can't even get these Hummers. They're not just getting them, but they're giving them to you for a significant discount of $20,000 off the sticker. Call them today. You can just take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. At BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
Couple cool things about this South Carolina. Bring Eric on. Go ahead and get him going. Eric McLean of the ACC Network joining us. Played his college football at Clemson. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving, Eric.
I did, brother. I'm jealous. I didn't have any of that, pretzel.
Strawberry pretzel salad. We got to get you on it.
Man, dude.
We got to get you on it. You will love it.
My family in South Carolina doesn't make it, and I saw that. I was like, man, I haven't had that in a long time. It looked fantastic, brother.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It feels like a South Carolina dish. My family from Columbia. I could see that being a South Carolina thing. Here's some cool things about this game. I did not realize this game ended 111 consecutive meetings during the COVID year. That is wild to think about. They have never played in a place other than Columbia, South Carolina, or Clemson, South Carolina. That's awesome to just think about in general right there. And I wanted to know, did you care about the Palmetto Trophy at all?
Well, actually, funny enough, I did know that it changed, during my time. It was before really ugly, and they changed it. Yeah, they changed it to a very pretty, silver palmetto tree that it was beautiful. And we cared, man. We wanted that thing in our locker room, no question about it.
Okay. There's a lot of these trophies I'm curious, We had Tate on that covers Florida on the sidelines earlier, Tate Casey last week, and he's like, I guess there's a canoe for this game or something, but we never saw it. We don't know what that thing is. Sometimes, like Greg and I'm not going to tell you that we care about the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Foy trophy that goes, no one cares about that thing, man. We just wanted to win the game. Do you know what it was called previously, though? The trophy before they changed it when you were there? Do you know because I was about to get to that.
I don't know the name, if it had a specific name. I just know what it looked like, and it wasn't pretty.
I was hoping it was like a golden paper sack because it was a Hardee's trophy, and if it came with some biscuits in there, we would really want that thing. But
it's a good deal. That's a good deal.
Absolutely. What does Clemson have to do, in your opinion, to find a way to win this game?
Yeah, man, this is a line of scrimmage game, as it always is when it's a big time matchup, and you get into playoff caliber football, championship caliber football, so postseason. Can they stop the run, which has obviously been very inconsistent this year and, alarming at times. And can they run the ball, and can they protect Cade Klubnik? I think that's certainly the best aspect of this South Carolina team, their pass rush. Kennard has had a rebirth at Carolina and is really, really good this year. I'm sure made himself a ton of money. And then you have a talented freshman that, is very explosive. He's a little skinny. You get your hands on him. Cole, we always like those small guys. Now, he's quick, though. You got to get him. If they can protect Cade and they can run the ball, they'll have their way offensively. It's going to be a fun matchup, man. This is the biggest game in this rivalry's history, all time, all 100-plus matchups.
Whoa, okay.
For the implications that are on the line here. And it's great for the state. I'm very happy for my state of South Carolina.
All right, so see, we've done this. I was actually going to ask you about Kyle Kennard when he was at Georgia Tech, but I don't care anymore. We've done this a couple of times. We had a guy on in Oklahoma City that covers Oklahoma or does radio there, and he's like, this Tennessee-Oklahoma game is the biggest game in the history of these two teams, or Oklahoma football at home. And we were like, whoa, hold on. But then when you said that and you caught me off guard, then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, wait a second. South Carolina does have a Hail Mary to be able to get in. Clemson, right there knocking on the door, great chance to be able to get in the playoff. I can see it. I get it. And it's I don't think a lot of people are sort of touting this game that way.
Exactly. And it is a shame, man. And I get it, the different things and, game day going to A&M and Texas. I understand that. But this This is literally for playoff football. This is literally for a bid. And, you have arguably the hottest team in South Carolina in the country right now. And you have a very talented Clemson, team and offense that's among the best in the country, and a top 15 matchup, a top 12 Clemson team, top 15 Carolina. And again, there's never been anything bigger on the line than this type of postseason play that could happen here for both teams.
How would you assess where Clemson's at right now? Because I did their game a couple weeks ago. The offensive line has been bruised and battered. I don't really feel great about that group. They've had some injuries. I don't even know if they're back to 100%. I know Lee's been banged up. I know Tate's been banged up. If they're not at 100%, I mean, can they win the game?
Yeah, it's certainly one of those things, Greg, where you better have a plan because, you again, as I just mentioned, those two very talented, exterior guys on the edge. They also have really good interior defensive tackles as well. It sounds like Tate is going to be, a guy that's more of a game time decision. And then Tristan Lee at the tackle position, it sounds like he's going to be go. So, they've had a bunch of guys in there. The good thing, it's funny, I was talking with Dabo Sweeney yesterday, and he said, well, it's a good thing that we had 8 deep that we felt good about because we surely are having to use all 8 of them. They just aren't healthy, man. They don't have a good group that can run, but they're going to figure it out. There's guys that are going to get an opportunity. Some of these younger cats that weren't going to play and they were trying to reserve them, they're going to get a chance. And as you guys both know, you have to scheme it up. You have to protect them, whether that's rolling the pocket, quick hits, running the football effectively. You've got to protect them there. So I certainly think they can win. And, there's obvious reasons why I think that and why I say that. But I think Cade's pocket presence this year has been on full display. Greg, you got to see it. And you actually broke it down really well on the Pittsburgh game there where they were towards the goal line. He sees there's a free man. He knows he is not protected. Cade Klubnik subtly moves to his left, delivers a strike right in between 3 defenders. So he's going to have his head on a swivel. He's going to have to understand when to go, when to not. And I think that he's matured that way. I think that's the biggest improvement from Cade this year. And it's going to be on full display. I don't love putting a game solely on one player, but this game is going to be sitting squarely on Cade Klubnik's shoulders and how much can he go out there. And quite frankly, it's a legacy game for him, I believe.
Eric McLean of the ACC Network played his college football at Clemson, joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. I want to get to a couple of the others, but I brought this up and it kind of just popped into my brain when we were talking about this game. Dabo's caught a lot of hell for the portal and transfers, not bringing guys in. But we've also talked about where the demeanor and mentality is of today's college football players, for the most part. Could that be a big advantage for Clemson in a game like this? There's not a lot of new guys. There's not a lot of guys that don't know this game, that don't know the importance, that haven't heard people talking about it, haven't played in it. There's a lot of guys on this roster that do know all of those things and have those feelings. How much of an edge could that give them?
Yeah, that's a fascinating question, Cole. I think with the playoff implications on the line, maybe that takes a little bit out of it because you just have to be a little silly not to be ready to go, right? Like you understand, hey, if we win either side, and again, particularly this is more about South Carolina with the transfers, you win and you potentially are in. Like that's what you're fighting for. But I do think there's a little more juice, as we all know in these rivalry games with y'all, with Auburn and Bama, with us, with Ohio State, Michigan, all these different things. Like throw out every record, throw out whatever you think matters because it's all about this one game. And there probably is a little bit that those guys can glean, understanding that the ball is going to bounce a weird way. You're in Death Valley, that home environment. I get it's not a night game, but these fans are going to bring it. And for a lot of these Carolina guys, it is going to be their first time seeing it. Now, obviously, there's great preparation going into that with the stadiums that they play in, but rivalry games certainly are always different.
Is there still like an SEC versus ACC contingent here? Because usually when I see these SEC, ACC things, the ACC team's always like, we're going to show them like the SEC is nothing special, like all this stuff. I know it's an in-state rivalry, so you don't need much extra juice, but is the ACC, SEC rivalry still a thing?
I think it always will be. It's what we do in college football. It's funny. It's like it's only in the college football, I guess now basketball. It wasn't really, but now basketball's creeped into it. That's the only place we care about conference, affiliation. I do love it, because it does put a little more juice, on the game. And we were talking with, Coach Key the other day as well. And man, he was rattling off the importance of this week and for the league and the opportunity, that the ACC has just to show out, because I think, it is an important thing. Like, I don't think there's any question the dominance of the SEC and the championships that they have won and the run that, that conference has been on. But it has been a very specific group of people. It's not like it's, all, however many y'all have, 15, 16, whatever it is. And so at the end of the day, everybody likes to see it. Everybody likes to be able to have bragging rights. And that's just the way it is. And I like it, obviously. I think it's fun. I think it gets people riled up. And it gets a lot of other fan bases involved, too.
Eric McLean of the ACC Network with us on the Buyers Right Hotline. I'm going to go to this one because we have not mentioned it today. Louisville at Kentucky. Kentucky needs it bad, but they come limping into this game. Louisville has a boatload of juice, a boatload of talent. It hasn't all gone the right way this year. Is there any reason they don't go to Lexington and get this game in your mind?
Oh, man. Let me tell you guys, there's been years, in this run, I think 5 straight that Kentucky is on, where I've said that. And I've said there's no way that Louisville loses this game, just when you see the talent gap and, maybe the hotness of a team, and maybe Kentucky isn't having the greatest whatever, and they win. And so for me, man, this might be the biggest game in regards to just, can you do it? Because as you mentioned, it's a very down Kentucky team, especially in the last couple of years, and what Coach Stoops has been able to do there has been more than impressive. Can you take advantage of that? Because you're a team in Louisville that beat Clemson, that is right there in the, I guess, upper middle. They're maybe right in the middle, kind of the league in regards to what they've been able to do. You can't lose. That's the same thing, Greg, you just asked about with the SEC-ACC thing. You can't lose to a bottom section team in one league being a higher in the other and sit there and be able to beat our chest. It's embarrassing. So, they have to get it done. I've been screaming for it for 5 years. We'll see. This should be the year. I think the talent gap right now is relatively significant, especially at quarterback. I mean, Tyler Shuck, invited to the Senior Bowl, has been really, really good all year. And they've got 2 phenoms, man, true freshman running back that have impressed me a ton this season.
Eric, great stuff. Thank you so much for the time, man. Enjoy the games this weekend. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll catch up again soon.
Yes, sir. Best week of the year, guys. Rivalry week. Appreciate y'all always. Have a great show.
There you go. Absolutely. Eric McElroy joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. We'll be covering games for the ACC Network all weekend. You can see him there. Played his college football at Clemson. Good breakdown of that game. And then a couple of the others coming up. 11 a.m. SEC Network, Louisville, Kentucky. I'm going Louisville, Greg. I have been so disappointed with the Kentucky front seven the last couple of weeks. It does not look the same. I think that's a big piece of where Louisville can be able to find some of their yards. You open up play action for Tyler Shuck. He can get it down the field. That's going to be a problem.
Big problem. And I don't really understand right now. I think Louisville's probably one of the best 4-loss teams in the country. I mean, they are really good. And the only thing that has kind of disrupted them this year has been when Tyler Shuck's taken a lot of hits. I mean, Notre Dame game, he took a ton of hits, but they've kind of been their own worst enemy. Now that they've found some run game, I don't see this one being favorable at all for Kentucky on the other side. Like, this should be Louisville. If it's not, man, you got major problems if you're Louisville.
Dale's is favorable. Nothing compares to the flavor boost from Dale's seasoning. If you're headed to a tailgate, this marinade's your MVP. Just 30 minutes with Dale's. Your meats and veggies are transformed from bland to bold. Ribs, burgers, even veggies you're grilling up. Dale's versatility, a game changer. Make every bite count. Score big with Dale's seasoning. All right, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit of Egg Bowl with Ben Garrett, who covers Ole Miss right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. Rivalry weekend is here. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Final hour of the show coming up on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Going to continue talking rivalry games. A little more Egg Bowl talk. We touched on it just a little bit earlier. Want to dive into it a little bit further with Ben Garrett here in just a moment. We'll move on to the Egg Bowl and some other SEC rivalries. But if you're looking to move out of your home or into a new home, Greg, who do you need to call?
That'll be our friends at Crocker Moving Services, our local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. And you can trust them in your home. Whether you need your whole home packed to move, your company headquarters moved across the country, or you just want them to come rearrange the living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you purchase and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website's crockermovingservices.com. It's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
All right, Ben Garrett covers Ole Miss football. He joins us now on the Buyers Right Hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at SpiritBen. Find his work at the Ole Miss On 3 team website. Ben, the biggest question we have is just where this Ole Miss team is mentally and emotionally, based on what you've heard, who you've talked to. How would you sort of judge where this team's mindset is coming into this game?
Yeah, talking to him, it just seems that, after the Florida game, obviously there was complete devastation in the locker room. Everything was over, right? I mean, they'd cost themselves the college football playoff, but then all the results around college football, the college football rankings come out, and Ole Miss is number 14th, essentially the second team out. They're still alive, and the team has responded to that very specifically. They thought it was all over, and now they got some life. So complete dejection to being back to task at hand. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't let one loss beat you twice, and Ole Miss does have life, and this is the Egg Bowl. I think they've done a pretty good job, it seems like to me, of turning the page. I mean, it bled a little bit, I think, Florida lost into Monday, but again, with all the results across college football for them, they have a real chance still to make the playoff with 3 losses, and they know that. And even though you want to kind of just, blind yourself from all the outside distractions, Ole Miss is very aware of its situation. How can it not be? And it's added significant importance, I guess you could say, to the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl is always important, but even more so for Ole Miss. I mean, they need style points and other things too. So it's a big game for Ole Miss for sure, bigger than it was going in for sure.
Well, looking at Ole Miss, I mean, I think it had to have been even more agonizing than most losses, because it almost feels like they are in complete control of their own destiny. In the losses, they're in complete control of each game. We've called all 3. I've seen them all 3 up close, and I'm sitting there after the game like, Ole Miss had no business losing that game. It was that way against Kentucky, it was that way against LSU, and it was that way against Florida with how they performed in the red zone. So looking at the self-inflicted mistakes, in the event in which the stars align and they somehow find their way back in the playoff, can they stop shooting themselves in the foot?
That's a great question, because we thought they were kind of over this after the second half of the Oklahoma win, Arkansas, and the Georgia win. They'd gone weeks without looking like that team that hurt themselves, or an offense that can't run the football, an offense that is one-dimensional as far as trying to force feed Trey Harris rather than spread the ball around. So many things that we thought that they'd gotten over as they were playing their best football of the season at the right time reared all of their heads again at Florida, and they lose to a team that's ascending. I mean, that's the curse of the SEC, and also the blessing, because Ole Miss is still in the fight, in contention for the playoff, despite losing 3 games. But trying to predict whether this team will be Jekyll or Hyde is futile at this point. I mean, we know how good they can be, because you're right, when they're playing at their peak potential, they're one of the best teams in college football. They've shown that. And if you go watch the film for Ole Miss LSU, I mean, 29-26 with their red zone inefficiency should have been 45-16. Against Kentucky, that's going to be the worst loss of the modern era, if it's not already. The Florida loss, it's all about, like you said, self-inflicted things with Jackson Dart forcing the ball. He'd been doing so well with controlling the offense and not hurting his team, and Yet with all of his timeouts and crossing midfield, he forces a ball into triple coverage and they lose the game. So I would love to tell you that I've got the answer to that, but I've seen the same team you've seen all year too. I mean, we know how good they can be, but are they really ever going to be able to put it all together and operate week after week and stack win after win now that the regular season is over? If they don't make it to the playoffs, they have only themselves to blame. So, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Ben Garrett covers Ole Miss for the On3 Sports Network. He joins us now on the Buyers Right Hotline. You brought up running backs a little bit in your answer there to Greg. There was some particular back and forth with Lane Kiffin earlier this week about Ulysses Bentley and his usage. Lane not committing to him being injured, not committing to him being in the doghouse. Can you give us any type of, I guess, reality as to what that situation has been and why we haven't seen more of him?
Yeah, sure, because it was me that was the one.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know that was you. That was. Yeah. I mean, you did a good job trying to get it out of him. I mean, he wasn't budging.
Yeah, he wasn't budging. But then afterwards, sitting there listening to Caden Lee do his press conference, and I get pulled up to Lane's office to talk about it. And I mean, he looked me in the eye and I asked him over and over. He said it wasn't personal. He says it wasn't an off the field issue. It's a purely football reason. So, man had never given me a reason not to believe him, and he just said it to me one-on-one in his office. So, I think for Ulysses Bentley, he had turf toe injury in the spring that resulted in surgery. Then he reported overweight in the summer. So it's kind of set him back. I mean, he's not as fast as he was. He's a step slower. He's not come back and been that player that Ole Miss thought he was going to be, at least in the eyes of Lane Kiffin. Now, as I said to Lane in his office, when he finally got his first extended action against LSU, he still holds your longest run of the year, 50 yards. He averages more yards per carry than any other back in SEC play. And Lane again pointed out all the things that have gone wrong with the running game and how for Ulysses is just of all the options, they're quote, not trying to lose football games. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's purely a football reason, at least to go by what Lane told me. So I have no reason to question the guy, but it is pretty perplexing, especially when he was the highest graded returning running back in the SEC. Quinshawn left, and you didn't meet his number, his high NIL ask, which, okay, fine. I mean, it was a big, big number, and also that's a non-premium position in football. And then you turn around, though, and re-sign Ulysses Bentley almost as a direct response to that. He's making good money, good NIL money, and now in this culture in college football, these are your shareholders. I know it's easy to go, oh, fans don't know what they're talking about and everything, but I told him in his office, I said, either the smartest or dumbest thing you said all year was that football isn't that complicated. And it's over and over and over again. Because now fans go, okay, if it's not that complicated, where's the best running back on the team? Why isn't he playing for a running back needy team? But again, he says it's a football reason. They tried Micah Davis as a converted wide receiver against Florida. That is, if Ole Miss doesn't make the playoff, if they end up falling short, which is more likely than not, one of the very biggest things that is going to be the result of that is, one, they didn't solve running back when Quinshawn left. Maybe they should have paid him. And two, the interior of their offensive line is terrible. It's been bad in run blocking all year, and that's really what he wanted to focus on more than anything. And they've tried some things and mixed some things up with the offensive line. But if you listen to Lane, because he's not going to throw any player or players under the bus publicly. But one thing he will, kind of admit is they missed on portal recruiting on the offensive line. There was misevaluations in scouting. When they go into the portal this offseason, they've got to hit on the offensive line. Yeah, they got to get a running back too, but they love Shakai Mills-Knight, that 4-star running back commit that they've got. They think he can step in and start. Running back is still a non-premium position. But as far as Ulysses Bentley is concerned, it isn't personal apparently, and it's not off the field. And I really appreciate the extra effort Lane went to bring me into his office to talk about that specifically, because it's the biggest question that I know I've gotten from the entire Ole Miss fan base. I mean, does it make sense on paper? And if football isn't that complicated, where the hell's the best or the highest graded returning running back in the SEC according to Pro Football Focus? So yeah, that's been my week all week. I hope y'all had a happy Thanksgiving.
Sorry to bring up.
I do know this. I know. I probably wouldn't be one, and I know Cole would second this. Highest grade is great. I would take Lane's evaluation over Pro Football Focus's evaluation every time and twice on Saturday. And the problem that I have with Pro Football Focus, highest grade, how do they know what the grade should be? How do they know what the responsibility should be? So I'm not downgrading Pro Football Focus, but this whole higher graded thing, I don't know.
They watch it.
I know that there's a lot better SEC running backs than Ulysses Bentley coming back that I saw last season. So
for sure.
That's my evaluation.
For sure.
Whether I know
that's what Lane said. And that's what Lane said. And then I went, okay. And he went, well, have you looked at yards per carry? If you take away the 50-yarder against LSU, and I'm like, well, that's not how any of this works. And again, if it's yards per carry question, then he's leading all of your bad options. So if you have nothing but bad options, just give me the one that the one time you tried him in extended action, he produced for you against LSU, especially in the passing game as a receiver. But again, he looked me in the eye and was like, do you think we're trying to lose football games? Of course they're not.
Well, my thing, I
agree about football focus grading. It's just my whole thing is you're talking to fans and they can only go by certain measures and analytics, right? They got normal everyday things. So if you say football isn't complicated and they go, okay, if it's not complicated, where's the good running back? I don't think that's an unfair question for shareholders now that have poured their money into your team. And again, this isn't personal at all. Lane has been awesome. He's been awesome to deal with me and all those kind of things. It was just the one question that I was getting over and over and over again. And I didn't mean to go in there and start a fight, but that's the only – and that wasn't the intent. I didn't think it happened that way anyway. But I walk into his office, the first thing he says is, you seem so angry. I'm like, that's probably just the social anxiety, man. I'm sorry. I'm not angry at all. That's not what it is. It's just – this is the question. Say it doesn't make sense, but now it does to me at least because Lane, and I thank him for it, went the extra mile to at least provide the best explanation he could. Because at the end of the day, all coaches are going to step up to a public podium and never throw a player under the bus. No matter if it's good, bad, indifferent, they're never going to, unless they're Hugh Freeze, God bless him. I love Hugh. Hugh's been awesome, but Lane's not going to do what Ulysses, if he doesn't believe in the evaluation anymore, believe in the player anymore, that Hugh did to Peyton Thorne, right? He's just not going to do that. So that's the best I got. I have exhausted all Ulysses Bentley options trying to figure out that puzzle, and I'm done with that one. I'm closing the book on that one as far as I'm concerned.
Well, he hasn't told me anything. We've done 4 of their games. We've asked him about it too. I have no more information than you have, but I have watched it, and I don't think Ulysses Bentley came in shape, and I don't think he's been able to get out of the doghouse because he didn't come back in shape. That's my thought process, and that's my evaluation. That is not coming from Lane. That's my own personal evaluation. So that's all I got there.
Ball knowledge more than mine. Yeah, I value your ball knowledge more than me. So I defer to you, my friend. Yes. Agreed.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I really don't know. I can't speak to it. All I know is that I know it's hard to get out of the doghouse, and when you're not producing, it's even harder. The other thing I'd ask you though is about Jackson Dart, and really more for next year. I had a close friend of mine that I respect and appreciate say, look, the backup quarterback's better than the starter. And that's more talented than the starter. I know that's not popular. I know that no one on that staff would ever admit that because they love Jackson and what he's meant to the team. But it sounds like there might be an upgrade at quarterback next year just based on talent. What can you tell us about Austin Simmons?
That he was Lane Kiffin's handpicked quarterback. And I've said this since the preseason. If Jackson better not let Austin get into a game because he could do to him what Tua did to Jalen Hurts in the national championship game. And he almost did that against Georgia. But here's the thing. Jackson is the heart and soul of this team. Yes, you're right. From a talent perspective, especially with deep ball accuracy and efficiency, there's a real chance if you just watch the kid, that Austin Simmons will be an upgrade as he develops. But for this team specifically, they are not going to operate at peak capacity unless Jackson Dart is the one leading the show, because Jackson is the heart and soul of this thing. Jackson is 49 yards away now from passing Eli Manning for the holy grail of Ole Miss quarterback records, passing yards in a career. What he's done here, he hasn't been a hired gun. He's been here 3 years and started for 3 years, just like Eli did. This is one of the greatest Ole Miss Rebels of all time. It's not taking away anything from him, but as far as what limits him as a player, because it isn't personal. None of this is personal. It's just purely about ball. Even more so now because of the money involved. You could see where in time as he becomes what he's going to be. Austin Simmons almost views him as a potential QB1 in whatever NFL draft he enters. I mean, that's the kind of potential they looked at him. I mean, you saw it against Georgia, fearless kid too. On fourth down, when the game was already at an apex point, he targets Georgia's best player on fourth down on the slant and just lets it rip. He does have a little bit more, not a little bit, he has more. He's more talented as a deep ball thrower in certain ways than Jackson is. But is he ready yet? That's obviously the question. And for this Ole Miss team, there's no player that better embodies what it would mean and what it takes to win with this team than Jackson Dart. He is the heart and soul of it. So I get the predicament, but I do agree with you from a purely football point of view. If you watch the two side by side, you can see the oozing of potential, maybe where Jackson is, you know exactly who he is, which is a record-breaking quarterback and one of the best to ever do it at Ole Miss. But the plays that he leaves out on the field or making a decision like throwing in triple coverage with all three of his timeouts after he's crossed midfield, you could see where an Austin Simmons might be better in that way. But would they ever get to a point where they flip the script and say, well, we got to have an offensive spark? They saw what he could do against Georgia, and now it's just do or die, period, right? If it's Mississippi State, if they slip in the first round on the road, it's do or die, and now Austin's the whole future for them. Regardless, I think there's more of a chance now than there's ever been of seeing an appearance from him if things go sideways. But Jackson hasn't been the problem. The problem's been the running backs and the interior of the offensive line. So hopefully they can look more like the team that we thought had figured this out in the second half against Oklahoma, Arkansas, Georgia, than the one that showed up again against Florida. The same team. It was essentially a redux of LSU and Kentucky that loss. I mean, again, Greg, you know this. You've been calling these games. I mean, it was the same thing. The defense has been there all year. At the end of the day, if Ole Miss allows 24 points, a Lane Kiffin offense should always win that game, period. And if Kirby Smart was struggling defensively, no one would ask what's up with the defensive coordinator. I couldn't even tell you who the defensive coordinator is. They say, Kirby, fix your defense because he's a defensive guy. Same thing with Lane. At the end of the day, every single loss so far falls at the feet of incompetency on offense. And if that's the case, if it's offense, Lane was here for offense. He's the offensive guy. So fix the offense. And they had it fixed, and then Florida came up again. So the Egg Bowl is huge now. Can you go out there? Can you put forth a good game? And, again, with the style points now, with where you are in the college football playoff, that still doesn't solve can you put it together even if you sneak in back-to-back weeks. Your offense, which has been so sporadic, been so Jekyll and Hyde, can it actually just get it all together, led by Jackson Dart, who is the team leader of this team, and go win a national championship for the first time since the 60s? Because you weren't supposed to be at this point on the outside looking in, especially in a field where it's a bunch of good, not great teams. I mean, there's no great team in college football. Maybe Oregon. Ole Miss has every bit the argument as everyone else, and yet the only reason why they are where they are is because of self-inflicted nonsense. So I'm with you, man. I mean, I think Austin Simmons is the future of this program, but for Ole Miss to win a title in 2024, it's still the Jackson Dart show, and he's got to go get it done.
Ben, great stuff. Appreciate the time. Thanks for hopping on with us. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
There you go. Ben Garrett, he covers Ole Miss for the On3 Sports Network at Spirit Ben. Follow him on Twitter. Great stuff there just on the Egg Bowl, which, oddly enough, coming up today, Black Friday, which felt weird not having it last night. Saw some other folks tweeting about it. I felt the same way. Just kind of wish we would have had it, but didn't. You'll get it today, back-to-back with clean old-fashioned hate. We'll talk about those games and some others as we continue talking rivalry games right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. But first, I'm going to tell you about my friends at your CBD store. If you're now looking to lose a little bit of weight because you overdid it at Thanksgiving, Trim by SunMed in stock now at your CBD store. Largest brick-and-mortar CBD retailer in the world. Arthritis, anxiety for you or your pet, your CBD store has answers to be able to help you, and they want to get that done. First company to have USDA-certified organic oil supplements, gut health, skin care, your CBD store. They've got answers for those problems. Go in and see how they can help you in your daily routine. Your CBD store, 3 locations, Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver, Trustful just off 459, and now downtown in 5 Points. Your CBD store where good health hits home. More Iron Bowl talk, more rivalry talk, and a rivalry weekend edition of the Rubik's Cubelic next. on Mac and Cube in the morning. We are live back in studio for Black Friday Rivalry edition. We will have our Super Sofa game of the week. We will have bad box scores of the day. Still yet to get to, so a lot coming. Some rivalry games that we need to get to as well and discuss across the show today. We'll spend a little more time on the Iron Bowl, get our final picks for how we think that one's going to play out. Of course, going to be one that we got to get to. Maybe a few out there that we're not going to spend a ton of time on. Tennessee Vandy, Greg. I understand the type. We all know the type of game Vandy's got to play here: convert, maintain the football, run the ball. Vandy's had trouble running the football north and south recently. Doing it against that front, I just don't see it happening. And I don't think I think it's a bad matchup for them defensively. Vanderbilt safeties have not had a great year. I just don't see a way, one, that they cover, two, that they win this football game.
I think Vandy can make it a little bit interesting if Tennessee, for whatever reason, can't run the football very effectively. I think that's really the only, if for whatever reason Vandy chooses right on Tennessee's run game and guesses right and makes some tackles in the open field, then sure. But I honestly don't know how else they can keep it close. Because I look at Vanderbilt's offensive line and they've slowly but surely come back to earth. They were playing a little better. They got by with some smoke and mirrors early, but they haven't been very good of late. I mean, Diego Pavia is probably coming off his worst performance of the year last week against LSU. He was getting harassed the whole game. It was just brutal. So I think it's going to be very interesting moving forward to see where Vandy goes from here, because I think they kind of found lightning in a bottle. But like I said, I don't know how much of it was real. You know what I mean? I think a lot of it was a little bit catching some people by surprise.
No, I would agree. And it's just, I don't know if, based on some of the adjustments that have been made against them and that they have not been able to make, if Vandy has enough to necessarily confuse that game. Arkansas is at Missouri, 2:30 on the SEC network. By the way, Vanderbilt, it welcomes Tennessee at 11 a.m. on ABC. Battle of the Borderline Trophy. And it's a weird one. They just kind of made this thing up out of nowhere for this game that was going to be back a couple years ago. Arkansas 6-5, Mizzou 8-3. Like I said, you watch the Mississippi State film. That was a fight for Missouri to win that football game. People might just look at the end score and say, "Oh, okay, they handled them," but no, it really wasn't that way. Game time temperature in Como, 32.
Oof. Oof.
And I don't think that makes a big difference for either one of these teams, really. They can both turn and be ground and pound if they want to, but the Missouri offensive line's a little bit better. Landon Jackson Company, pretty stout up front. This one comes down to turnovers for me, Greg. I think Missouri probably at home has a bit of an edge. I would probably take the Tigers here just because Arkansas has been so inconsistent this season.
That's the problem with Arkansas is I feel like I never know what I'm going to get. I mean, some weeks they're like gangbusters. Other weeks it's like anyone can beat them. I mean, UAB can play them close for 3 quarters. You know what I mean? It's like the team is just in flux constantly. So if I knew for sure I was going to get a good performance from Arkansas, I could see this one be in trouble for Missouri, but I don't trust Arkansas at all. So I will take the Tigers.
Yeah, I would be with you there. Okay, we will get to a break. When we come back, it's a rivalry weekend edition of the Rubik's Cubelic. The computers will decide. We have nothing to do with it. We don't put anything in. This is just the computers that tell you who's going to win these games. So you can say that we're homers, that we're not homers, whatever. But this is not up to us. So what is up to you is checking out what Backyard Adventures has today. If you're looking for a playground, go over to their location, Cahaba Valley Road. They're all put together. The kids can jump, cling, slide, swing, and all the different options that they have. They'll customize it, and here's the best part. They come to your backyard and put it together. They did it for me. My kids love it. The neighborhood kids are over there all the time playing on it. And if it's not a playground you're interested in, GMAC, there's more at Backyard Adventures.
Yeah, the basketball goal has been a great investment for our family. Very grateful to the Jeff and the guys at Backyard Adventures for the opportunities that we've now had outside together as a family because of what they've provided us. So highly recommend, go and take a peek. You can go see them off Cahaba Valley Road. You can also go online and see their entire inventory at backyardalabama.com.
When we come back, the computers decide. Rubik's Cubelic next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Sometimes games are so close to predict that you have to go to somebody else, reference something else to see who you think has the advantage. That's why the Rubik's Cubelic is here for you. We let the computers decide who's going to win college football games. 9:31 a.m. Friday, November 29th. Black Friday, we're live right here on Jocks 94.5. Watch on YouTube. Search Jocks 945, and you can watch us there. Listen online, jocksfm.com. All right, let's go to it. Fire up the computers. And let's get right into a rivalry weekend edition of the Rubik's Cubelic. We'll start in the SEC, a game that we've talked a lot about today. South Carolina is at Clemson. Say Bear, plug it in.
Major input. Input. Woo!
Oh, done.
Games in Clemson advantage Tigers. They run for 195 yards per game. Anyone expect to hear that number be that big?
That seems pretty high.
26th in the country. 182 for Clemson advantage Tigers. Clemson allows 139 rushing yards per game. South Carolina allows 103 rushing yards per game. That is the 12th ranked rush defense in college football. South Carolina +3 in the turnovers.
There we go.
Okay, that's
Pretty good. It's not too bad.
Pretty good. Do you think that would be higher, by the way?
No, because the ball security's not been great. And even though
but I feel like the Oklahoma game alone.
That was the difference.
I was actually
Maybe
on the
that's why
call for
they're
that one,
+3.
so it did feel like it. Yes.
Yeah.
Too bad Clemson's +13.
Wow. Whoa.
That is tied for 4th in all of college football. That's advantage Tigers. Clemson 61 for 587 in penalties on the year. South Carolina 74 for 633. South Carolina 41% on third down. Clemson 45% on third down. Advantage Tigers. Both teams allow opponents to convert 32% of the time by a margin of +3. The Rubik's Cubelic likes Clemson to knock off South Carolina this weekend. Going against the humans.
Oh, boy.
The humans
Well,
going against us.
It's the ACC, though.
It is. You never know.
The ACC stat pad.
Vegas did have them favored, so
That's what people say. They say ACC only computers can figure out.
Yeah.
All right.
all computer conference.
Let's go to the Big Ten. One that is usually a little bit bigger than it is this year, but it's one of the best rivalry games in college football. It is Michigan at Ohio State. John, plug it in.
Rubik's Cubelic.
Rubik's
Cubelic. Rubik's Cubelic.
Now, we figured that this would just go Ohio State every possible direction, right?
Yeah.
Games in the shoe, advantage Buckeyes. 159 a game for Michigan on the ground, 178 for Ohio State, advantage Buckeyes.
Okay.
94 rushing yards per game allowed by the Michigan Wolverines.
It's not bad.
It's 4th in college football.
It's great.
They're good. They're good on defense.
90 for Ohio State.
Oh, boy.
3rd in college football.
Another one.
Advantage
Got 'em.
Buckeyes. -4 in the turnovers for Michigan, +4 for Ohio State, advantage Buckeyes.
Another one.
45 for 429 flags for Michigan. By the way, that's not a lot of flags
No.
if you're keeping up at
Not
home.
really, no.
That's really low. 12th in college football for Michigan.
Okay.
Ohio State 50 for 462, advantage Wolverines.
Okay, there's one.
42% on third down for Michigan, 43% for Ohio State. Not a lot of differential there. 43% third down defense. How is your D-line that good and you let opponents convert 43% of the time on third down?
Well, because maybe it's not that good.
Whoa.
Oh.
Whoa.
32% for Ohio State, advantage Buckeyes by a margin of +4. It is what we thought it would be. Even the computers agree with us. Michigan gets smashed.
Yeah, Michigan shouldn't even get off the plane.
All right. Let's stay in that conference, sort of. Notre Dame, USC. John, plug it in.
major input. Input. Woo!
Oh, done.
Game in the Coliseum. Is that an advantage? I mean, the computers are still giving it to them.
I guess.
Let me check.
I believe it is.
We'll allow it.
They say yes. Game time temp 74.
Wow. Must be nice.
That's, oof.
Not bad.
A little different than the 29 in Bloomington for kick. Not your typical Big Ten mid-November kick temp, but hey, here we are. So
they're tougher than us.
They tough. That is advantage USC. USC runs for 144 per game. Notre Dame 222. That's 10th nationally. USC allows 131 rushing yards per game. Notre Dame allows 134.
What?
Advantage Trojans. Now, USC -2 in the turnovers. It's not great.
It's not.
It's not great.
It's not ideal.
So you think to yourself, all right, well, as long as we just don't get against another team that's like really good in the turnovers, we'll be fine. Notre Dame +16.
Oh, and there it is.
Oh, yeah. Is that like a triple up?
Second nationally. 67 flags, 600 yards for Notre Dame, 62 for 529 USC. Surprisingly, USC's been a better team when it comes to penalties to Notre Dame this year. Would not have expected that. Notre Dame allows opponents to convert on third down 39% of the time. USC 45%. Whoa.
Okay.
45.
And USC second in the Big Ten in third down defense, 32% conversions. Who had that?
I did.
Nobody.
Not me.
Too bad Notre Dame
Would
allows,
not have had that on the scorecard.
Maybe
there,
second
at
to
all.
last.
Notre Dame allows opponents to convert 30% of the time. That leads all independents. Not everybody got
They
that
beat
one there.
UMass.
All of them.
Barely.
By a margin of plus 0.5.
Whoa.
The Rubik's Cubelic selects USC to knock off Notre Dame.
I don't hate it.
I will say, I
don't
feel like
hate
a
it.
lot of people jumping on this one.
Yeah,
a lot of folks
feels a
are
little
starting to
suspect
tell me
now.
they think that
Yeah.
one's going to happen.
Don't
Finally,
hate it.
two absolute behemoths left in the SEC. John, Texas at Texas A&M. Plug it in.
Rubik's Cubelic.
Rubik's
Cubelic.
Rubik's Cubelic.
Some of these are hard to get out. I don't think the computer computes what
Doesn't want
conferences
to print.
these teams are now
Doesn't
in.
want it.
They just say, that's not right. That team's not supposed to be there, but it is. Games in College Station, advantage Aggies. Texas runs for 170 a game.
That's good.
A&M runs for 208, advantage Aggies.
That's
Oh,
great.
17th nationally. A&M allows 128 a game on the ground.
Reasonable.
Okay.
Solid. Texas allows 104.
I thought it'd be better than that.
That's gooder.
I did too. 128 rush defense. I thought it would be better than that. Yes.
Yes.
Texas 14th nationally in rush defense. Texas A&M +4 in the turnovers. Texas +7.
Mm-hmm.
Advantage Horns. 69 flags for 579 yards for Texas.
Okay.
Don't feel too bad.
It's not terrible. You'd like it to be a little bit better. What you wouldn't want it to be is 84 flags for 729 yards, and that's where Texas A&M is. They're 115th nationally in
That is too
penalties.
bad.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
awful.
Not great.
46% converted on third down for A&M, 45 for Texas. Not a lot of differential there. 33% allowed by A&M, 30 for Texas. So not a huge difference. By a margin of just +1, the Rubik's Cubelic likes Texas to knock off Texas
Wow.
A&M.
Okay, we got ourselves a ball
Did
game.
not have a football gods category here.
Are we sure?
I think would have been a heavy lean A&M. It might have been a double up for A&M.
Football gods is very, very important here. Don't deny.
But there's
the
no
importance.
algorithm for godlike tendencies.
They didn't account for the 12th man.
That's not in there either.
No theologists?
Yes. Not a part of that.
Okay.
No, what did you call it?
Theologists?
Yeah. Or religionologist either.
Okay.
That's that too.
Or what?
You heard me.
Actually, I think that's the technical term. Yeah.
Right.
Finally,
That does sound right.
the one that counts the most, the one that matters the most, the one we've all been waiting for. The Iron Bowl of greatness. Plug it in, John.
Major input. Input. Woo!
All done.
Here's the thing. We just give you the numbers. Don't get mad at me for how it comes out. Games in Tuscaloosa, advantage tied. Auburn runs for 172 per game.
Okay.
It's pretty good, right?
I'll take it.
Most people would not expect it to be 6th in the SEC. Probably would not have expected Alabama to jump back up to 5th in the SEC with 181 rushing yards per game.
Oh boy.
Now you want to get really backwards. Alabama allows opponents to run for 144 yards per game.
Ouch.
That is 12th in the SEC. Auburn is 6th in the SEC, allowing 110 rushing yards per game. Would you like to get even further backwards?
Let's do it.
I would like that.
Auburn's minus 11 in the turnovers.
Oh, boy.
Bama's
That
plus
one's a
11 in the
tough
turnovers.
Oh.
A literal double up.
Boy.
It is a tough one, Greg, especially when it comes out that way. That's needless to say, advantage Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Rush defense advantage Tigers. Alabama, Greg, 86 flags for 797 yards on the season. That is 15th in the Southeastern Conference.
Ain't no discipline.
I don't want it. 126 in college football.
That's awful. Triple dig.
Advantage Tigers.
Not just triple
46%
dig.
on third down for Alabama, 43 for Auburn. Advantage Tide. Auburn allows 37% converted on third down. Alabama, 33%. By a margin of +2, the Rubik's Cubelic likes Alabama to knock off Auburn. So to recap quickly, Rubik's Cubelic, Alabama +2, Texas +1, Clemson +3, Ohio State +4, USC +0.5. If you think those are point spreads, go figure out what the segment actually is. I don't have time for it today because I got to get to a break, and we'll be back with our Super Sofa Game of the Week and Bad Box Score of the Day. Let's continue to roll along. Rivalry weekend here. I feel like I didn't have to say it that way and add an extra couple L's there. only complicating the verbiage. Nonetheless,
It is tough to say, though.
It happens. Gave you the Rubik's Cubelic. We are going to get you a bad box score of the day or two, and we're also going to get you here Friday, November 29th at 9:46 a.m. our Super Sofa Game of the Week. Brought to you by TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton. 2 football fields of inventory. If you hear this, they'll deliver to you, and they got the goods. I was actually showing my father-in-law the spaceship lounge chair they have there yesterday. I was like, Rick, you need this, man. He just laughed. But nonetheless, it does look awesome. All right. If you got one to watch this weekend, I feel like this is one of the tougher weekends we've had. There's so many good games for so many different reasons, and I think that there are a lot of rivalry games in which it's really fair to ask the question, can that team get that team? And your answer would be yes. Most weekends, I feel like we just say, no, move on to the next one. But this is pretty easy for me when it's all said and done, and it all boils down. 6:30 ABC, number 3 Texas at number 20 Texas A&M. The Lords of Football will look down on this game and give Texas A&M every opportunity to win it. Now, they got to go take it. They have pieces that can be complicated for what Texas wants to do. Kyle Field is going to literally be on tilt for about 4 hours. I cannot wait to see that. When the beginning of power hits at about 6:34, you're going to want to be tuned in for that. I'll just say that. You're going to want to hear that. It's going to sound fantastic. And I'll be expecting that you have just for one moment clicked over from Arkansas at LSU, which begins at 6 on
Obviously,
ESPN.
right, correct.
Yeah,
correct.
of course. Yeah.
But and then you come right back because you're going to want to see that defense against that offense. But for me, Greg, it's Texas at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I would have. I mean, normally I would go in that direction, but since you took it, I mean, that game I'm so interested in. You know what I mean? Like, just it's been such a long time coming as a kid from Texas. Like, I know what that game means. So it's hard not to pick that one, but I'll go to the Iron Bowl. I mean, how are we supposed to do a show in Birmingham, Alabama, and not have the Iron Bowl as our Super Sofa game of the weekend? I love this game. I always love this game. It doesn't matter what the records are. You throw them out, and you know you're going to get the other team's best shot. And I think it's the most hostile rivalry in the sport, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. I'm proud of having played in it. I know Cole is too, and I'm always proud to know that there's another chapter that will be written tomorrow. So nothing bigger than the Iron Bowl in this state, and as a proud Alabamian, not by birth but by choice, I'm glad to know that the Iron Bowl will be taking place tomorrow, and to be on the call alongside Sean McDonough and Molly McGrath for it is a true experience that I just will not take for granted. So very much looking forward to it, and it'll be at 2:30 Central Time here in Birmingham, Alabama on ABC.
We will be locked into it. Damian?
Absolutely. Hey, we also have another battle for the state. North of us, Tennessee versus Vanderbilt. What if Vanderbilt has that Vince Carter picture? I got one more left in me. Could they potentially pull off the upset? Who knows? It's in Nashville at 11 o'clock on ABC. For my TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend, of course it is the Iron Bowl, but I'm going to go Tennessee and Vandy.
I hope it's their DBs that have that picture. Just saying.
They should.
John?
For me, I'm going to the Palmetto State for the Hardee's Fresh Biscuits battle, or whatever they used to call it. I forgot. But
Bring back the Hardee's Trophy.
that would be pretty tasty and enjoyable. South Carolina at Clemson, 11 o'clock ESPN. This is a game, I think that it's gotten interesting over the last few years because Shane Beamer's, the ascendancy that he had began with him upsetting Clemson a couple of years ago, getting those back-to-back top 10 wins. And now that South Carolina, both of these teams still have a shot at the playoff. And if you're Alabama, you kind of, if there was a way for both teams to lose, you kind of wish for that to happen, but you're heavily invested in the outcome of this game. But I think it's going to be a good game regardless. I think the wrong team is favored. Either way, I do think it's going to be absolutely fun. South Carolina at Clemson is your TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the week. And by the way, TD's has their Black Friday sale going on right now today, including all bedroom suits marked down $1,000. Top leather sectionals starting at only $19.99. Almost everything in the store is marked down, plus pay no interest until 2026 at TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton.
We don't have to worry about TDs with the whole discount's not good enough. Discount's not enough.
No.
Like we talked earlier in the show about the emails that we've been getting about Black Friday. It's like 25% off. No, you don't have my attention. TDs, you're not going to worry about that. They're going to give you those deals you're looking for. 100%. Don't even sweat it. All right, a couple of others. Yesterday, Turkey Day Classic, Alabama State took down Tuskegee 34-6. Alabama State now 7-5 on the season. Tuskegee goes to 5-6 this weekend. Today, 2:30, Texas State at South Alabama. 3 o'clock today, Alabama A&M at Florida A&M. Tomorrow, UAB's at Charlotte, 2:30, ESPN Plus. You can see that one. And 1 o'clock, Southern Miss at Troy. You'll be able to check those games out. Let's roll to our bad box scores. Plural of the day quickly. John.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
Intentional grounding, offense number 7. It's a 10-yard penalty. I'm talking to America here, excuse me.
That's the game.
All right, you guys know this is men's basketball, by the way. St. Mary's. Maybe you don't know St. Mary's.
Gales?
There you go.
Yeah.
Took on the, University of Southern California.
Trojans?
Yep, they made it in.
What?
St. Mary's men yesterday knocked off the USC men 71-36.
Wow.
Yeah.
They miss Bronny. USC needs Bronny.
Gales blew him down.
Eric,
See what he now I see why he went in the draft. He knew what was
Eric
coming back.
Musselman. Musselman's the head coach there.
Ooh.
Not good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
USC, get ready for this one. They shot 13 of 50 yesterday.
That's disgusting.
That's what Coach Sanderson thinks we would shoot.
From the free throw line.
From anywhere.
From an 8-foot free throw line, 8-foot goal, yeah.
That's 26% if you're keeping up at home.
That's terrible.
They shot 12 threes.
Okay, there you go.
They didn't make one.
Oh,
Okay,
boy.
dude, looking pitiful.
Goose egg.
A men's college basketball without a single
Men's
three-pointer
college
made
basketball.
in 2 halves.
Yep.
Of
Not a single one.
Actual live basketball took place. USC was only rebounded 46-23.
Ugh, so they missed the shots and didn't hustle.
23 rebounds in a game. 23.
And?
Not great. All right.
Well, if you're just getting buckets, though, I mean, clearly you said they weren't shooting very well.
13 of 50. They got no buckets whatsoever. So, yeah.
Happens.
Not the best. All right. Also, we'll go to the women's side. A little bit of a bounce back here. We talked about South Carolina women dropping the game a couple Sundays ago. Nobody paid attention to it. But we know they are the South Carolina
Gamecocks.
Lady Gamecocks?
Lady Gamecocks.
They took on and I don't necessarily know, but they took on the Iowa State
Cyclones.
Lady?
Oh, wait, no,
Cyclones?
Cyclettes.
Lady
Cyclones.
Cyclones.
Sorry, I was thinking
I don't know. Yeah, but either way.
Right.
But before I go any further, some folks might know. This is number 4 versus number 15. It's the top 15 Iowa State team, and they lost 76-36.
Okay.
All right.
Not great.
I'm guessing they're going down in the rankings after this.
So you take your pick. USC men shot 13 of 50. The Iowa State women shot 12 of 52, which is one percentage point lower.
So men and women can do the same things. Okay. All right.
They shot 23 threes. They've made 4.
Hey, at least they made 4. At least they made one.
South Carolina, 29 of 64.
All it takes is one.
29 of 64, 45% for the game, 6 of 17 from 3, out-rebounded them 46 of 32.
Okay.
Ooh.
Finally, junior college football, the College of DuPage. We've had them many times. You should remember.
We have. That's right.
You should remember them.
I feel like it's the Explorers or like something weird like that.
They're the Chaps.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Gah.
They knocked down the Community Christian College
Marauders.
They're the Cavaliers.
Lions,
Bibles.
63-0. Rush yards, 251-67. Pass yards, 250-36. They were 5 of 12 passing combined for the game. Total yard differential, 501-103. College of DuPage, they're now 10-1. They had 15 tackles for loss in the game.
Getting after it.
Community Christian College, 0 sacks, 0 TFLs in the game.
Kind of
63-0 will do that to you.
Kind of figured.
It'll do it.
All right, folks, enjoy Rivalry weekend. We're back Monday. Paul Feinbaum going to be with us to break it all down. Tyler Watts will be with us at 9. McElroy is going to be on the call. Have a great weekend. Enjoy all the football. 3-Man front keeps talking it next.